lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Matt Williams got a brilliant start from the third row of the grid.
He's gone, he's hit him, he's straight off at the chase.
A half-second lead. Oh, with the simmering car in the background.
He has, oh, he's round on the last lap.
There's a massive accident.
Next to the inside, what a move, what a move.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to round number 13 out of 14 rounds in the AMS Oz Supercars Championship for 2020. That's right, just 2 rounds remain and 3 races to decide this year's championship. It is still very much in the balance and up for grabs. And after the chaos and calamity that was the Surfers Paradise round a couple of weeks ago, we now put all that behind us, don our retro liveries, a throwback to the past, and we find ourselves at the traditional home of horsepower in Sandown Motor Raceway in southeastern Melbourne for a pair of sprint races, the final 2 race format round for the year, with the last round in a couple of weeks' time being a 200 kilometre event around a yet-to-be-named track. So in the live chat, if you've got an idea as to what you think it might be, happy to get your thoughts throughout the night. And when we do reveal it, we will see who is right. My name is Steve DeVries, and for the moment, I am devoid of a commentary partner. Hans Brunswick at the moment, I believe, is still out and about on his work route somewhere, hoping that he'll be here a bit later on in the night. But for the moment, this is a solo affair. And we'll do our best to bring you a little bit of coverage as to what's going on in the world of AMS Oz Supercars racing at the moment. There's just a practice session with about 6 or so minutes remaining, and then we'll be into qualifying for the first of the races tonight. Thank you for joining us as usual, and thank you for everybody for your support of the series this year. It's getting to the end of a very long and trying year, not just for AMS Oz, but for a lot of us in general. And if you weren't with us last time out, when we did one of these rounds a couple of weeks ago, this is what you missed out on. It was the Gold Coast Twin Sprint round from the Streets of Surfers Paradise. And to call this a race, it was more like a war. There was a lot of safety car involvement, especially in the early going. You can see here that there was plenty of cars getting turned at the first corner. Lime Mitch was the first one of those, just caught up in the chaos of all the bumping and rubbing going on. And another one of those, Macmillan, getting into a couple of drivers, also getting turned. And this is what triggered the first of 3 safety cars for this particular race. A HSV Camaro safety car called into action at the end of lap 1 to grab the field, as it would also be called in a couple of other instances during the night. Race restarted on lap 5, and thankfully we got a clean restart for this particular occasion, but the worst was still yet to come. Plenty more drivers finding the turn 1, 2, 3 fence. Dane Liccardo, another one of those to fall victim, grabbing the inside wall. No margin for error. Bit of silly driving going on in the latter part of the lap. A couple of late sends where cars were not able to make passing opportunities. A few drivers grabbed the wall at turn 15. Will Devenish, one of those to grab that inside wall. And not knowing he had a puncture, he was out after not negotiating the final corner at the end of lap 6. And he was into retirement. Rosella, another one to clout that wall. Got away with it that time, not as severe as Will Devenish was. Another one was Greg Tara aboard the Cam Rutledge machine, having to do a little bit of trickery race driving to make sure he didn't get caught by Nathan Higginson's Nissan there, and then managing to flick spin the car. He too also had a puncture and managed to get going just before Thomas McMillan arrived on the scene. And then that was what caused the second of the safety car restarts, and Kurt Stenberg thought he got a bit of a flyer at that point in time, but he was adjudged to have jumped that start and was handed a post-race penalty after all that was said and done. But then after this restart, I think it was on lap 12, we got all the way to lap 16 before we ended up with the next safety car. But before that, there were plenty of guys throwing the car down the road at turn 6, out braking themselves. Of course, the rule was that they weren't allowed to grab reverse. They had to wait for the track to be clear before that could happen. But it did set up a one-lap sprint to the finish. And it was down to Stenberg and Rosella for line honours. And the battle was nullified at the turn 6 corner. Here it is. Look at it on the slow-mo. All four wheels over the outside line, and that was his last track strike. He ended up with a post-race drive-through penalty for that, which meant that the last spot on the podium was actually up for grabs between Foley and Wedding. Wedding having to fight off Foley tooth and nail for that final spot at the time on the rostrum, and he would prevail ultimately at that, with Luke Rosella being demoted down the order from his drive-through. But Stenny took the checkered flag after all of this, but of course the post-race review did mean that he ended up with a post-race time penalty. But it wasn't over and done with there. There was a few silly antics going on the last lap. Bump and run there by Dane Liccardo on Thomas McMillan. And then this moment, shades of Garth Tander and Fabian Coulthard a couple of years ago, and that was the end result. And that ended up in a race disqualification for Thomas McMillan for the unsafe act. So with all the silly shenanigans that went on in that first race and the penalties applied, that was your final finishing order. So that battle between Wedding and Foley actually means that Lewis Wedding came out with a victory, with Lime Mitch being promoted to the podium. Rosella's penalty and Stenberg's penalty dropped them to the tail end of the lead lap cars in 10th and 11th respectively. And then, after many deep breaths, we got going for the second race, and the start was a little bit better compared to the first race, but it sadly wouldn't last all that long. It wasn't until we got around to the back section of the circuit that things really started to get wild and woolly. With a few late lap passes like this, McMillan coming from a long way back, not able to stop the car, and then to make matters worse, the pair of them, McMillan and Liccardo, grabbing reverse, immediately disqualified for this, and this is what brought out the one and only safety car on the night for the second race. And a few drivers thought, well, we've got to come in and get damage repairs, and also thought that they might be able to one-stop that race. Brendan Ross definitely took that gamble to see if he could get home on an early stop and save as much fuel as he could. After the restart, everything sort of settled down for a little bit. Thank goodness. The commentating crew was very lucky to get a bit of a break. Stenny was very lucky not to keep to turn the car after clouding both walls there at turn number 1, 2 and 3. And McMillan getting into the back of Matt Cecil had a bit of a difficult night, being collected a few times and also having to keep the car pointing the right direction. A few other cars in the fence as well. Lime Mitch, having started toward the front end of the field and having a good start, then headed the battle from Pete Savage and Will Devenish as well. This was a pretty wild battle on the run up to green flag pit stops, and the Llama-mobile held station quite well for most of that. This is the interesting part though. A few drivers getting confused with the pit lane entry and where it started. Stenberg thought it started all the way up the lights. It actually started a lot further down, and you can see here Lime Mitch arrives on the scene and rounds him up in the pit lane entry, knowing where the line was, and then beats him out on the exit. And that was crucial, because where Lime Mitch would get out into clean air ahead of Devenish, Devenish would jump Stenberg, so too Pete Savage would jump Kurt Stenberg, and lucky not to lose another spot, but then Pete Savage makes a mistake and gives the spot straight back. So that little bit of extra time in the pit lane for Stenberg was costly at the end of it all. And this was a plentiful sight. Two-wheel action and a lot of turns. Luke Rosella wasn't the first man. He certainly wasn't the last man there either. Then this little bit of action from Lime Mitch, trying to replicate the same thing that Greg Turra did. And a J-turn, and not quite pulled off to perfection. With some of the penalties that were being applied, this battle here was for the last spot on the podium, would you believe? After post-race penalties applied, Urjit Mishra would find himself in a really neat little position. And this was the battle for what was the race lead at the time, but there was a post-race penalty hanging over Will Devenish's head for a track violation that would need to be taken into account. And at the end of the day, this battle would be settled by Rosella making no mistake second time around, getting the pass completed correctly and on the track at turn 6, and he would hold station from here. Celebratory wiggles across the line, and that is all she wrote for race 2. So with penalties applied, there is your corrected order from the second round of proceedings at the Gold Coast. So Urjit Mishra with a debut podium, Will Devenish dropping to 4th, and Pete Savage making it a pair of podiums on the night. Now what we'll do is we'll take you straight to live pictures for this one. We have got qualifying underway. First cars have started making their way around the circuit. And the first man of those that is out there on track is Nathan Higginson's Nissan. You can see him just a little bit ahead here of Pete Savage. We'll do our best to see if we can pick Nathan Higginson up and see what he can do for a hot lap. There he is. Now, you notice a number of drivers tonight running retro liveries, and a few drivers have decided to put their own spin on proceedings. Nathan Higginson, one of those to go with his own spin, calling this the meme machine, and he's going to have the honour of being the first man as it stands to conduct the flying lap. Into turn 1 we go. Immediately behind him on track, Pete Savage, followed by Matt Cecil, Urjit Mishra in the Volvo, and Brenton Foley in his Holden are the first 5 cars looking to set laps. 26.5 for Higginson through Sector 1. Just waiting for our timing to update and reflect itself. The live race just being a little bit behind the 8 ball at the moment. I'm wondering if there might be a track violation for Nathan Higginson on this particular occasion. Nope, live races has now got itself in order. At the moment, Pete Savage holding all the cards at sectors 1 and sectors 2. So the car immediately behind Higginson on a much faster lap as opening shots are fired. Keeping in mind too that qualifying sets the grid for race 1 tonight, and it's progressive grid for race 2. Higginson's 109.356 immediately surpassed by Savage's 107.7. And Matt Cecil a couple of seconds behind Nolan. It's good to see Scotty Nolan back slotting into P2, having missed a good chunk of the Supercars season, as dusted off the Smith & Sons racing entry for Synergy Sim Racing and is out there setting some laps. Pete Savage now holding off from Will Devenish. So Pete Savage's early mark of a 107.7 looks pretty formidable. A few drivers not quite able to match the time. Closest of these is Will Devenish, who's now having to thread his way through some traffic as well as set a lap time. Found a half second already as he goes past another one of the cars that has got the retro livery on display tonight. And since this point in time, we finally get a chance to welcome Hans Brunswick into commentary.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully we can see a good night's racing once I actually install the required files. But I'm getting there. It's tough working Arvos and nights. But yeah, no, actually it's a retro night as well. So we got more chin wagging to do regarding retro livery. So keen for that. Yeah, we certainly do. And I echo your sentiments, mate. I know you've had a bit of a hard time at the minute with some of the workload that you've had to bear with the new job and all. And I can tell it in your voice that you've definitely been reluctant to burn the midnight oil, let's say it that way. Well, it's not too bad, but obviously every other night this week I just come home and lay myself in bed and that's that. But now we've got work to do. Now the real work starts, as it were.
Yeah, the real work for you and me starts. The stuff that we like doing best. Surprisingly, everybody bar what have we got here? 4 drivers yet to set a lap time. So this is one of them, Kurt Stenberg, Lewis Wedding, Avenger Ben and Kalen Duncan are the only men yet to set lap times. And looks like Kalen Duncan may have got a track violation on his previous tour. He had 2 sectors on the board and didn't get a third, so he takes the Michael Caruso liveried Nissan for another spin. Now Stenberg at sector 2. Quarter second down on the pole man time. So this stage, provisional front row time. One of a handful of cars not to opt to run a retro livery this round. Steve Burko spins off the track. Yellow flags come out, so Stenberg presses on. Aussie time through sector 1 for Stenberg. 26.1 to the first sector, 14.6 to the middle. And if he can keep this going to be provisionally on the front row. And he goes to the top, so he found a lot of time in that last sector. So a huge chunk of time, probably about better part of 2 3/4 tenths of a second. The man we were looking at just a few seconds ago on a live timing was Will Devenish, who had a purple first sector but aborted the lap. So that means that the top 2 very, very tight. And likewise, 3rd and 4th extremely tight. Scotty Nolan has found a bit of time. He's a bit close to Will Devenish than he was before. So too Brenton Foley. He's now moved a bit closer to the top 3, 4, 5 positions as he was before. There's a bit of a logjam in the middle there too. Higginson heading Steve Warwick, Cam Rutledge, Urjit Mishra and Termo. And while we're on the subject of Cam Rutledge, this is probably one of the feel-good stories of the year, I think, isn't it? Cam Rutledge putting off his shoulder surgery until after the Bathurst 500, getting the surgery done, only missing a round, and he's back in a race car. He couldn't help himself.
How good is that, Cam Rutledge? He's a superstar, isn't he? And hopefully he puts in a good performance tonight. His comeback performance, and we're keen to see what the new shoulder can do.
He did say to me earlier in the night he was feeling a little bit tired and a bit knackered because he's obviously having to manage work and the guys that he worked for him, as well as get into the sim rig. But the fun part about it all is he's found a second on his time from last year already, and obviously still recovering from shoulder surgery. That's a phenomenal effort.
Yeah, and Cam's still got a fair bit of improvement to go, and I reckon he can get there because he's really come on strong this year as the year has gone on. And we earmarked him as a guy who was definitely going to get stronger as the year went on, and he's definitely delivered, so it's been fantastic. Yeah,
it's one of the good stories of the year, but also a lot of drivers that have found time over the year as well. So Termo's found some time, Rutledge has found some time, Steve Burko's found a lot of time as well, and a whole bunch of guys, including the people on screen such as Nathan Higginson, they've come into the series and they've just gotten better and better and better as they found their groove with the cars. So everyone has really lifted their driving to a completely different level this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the strength of competition in the AMSL Supercars Championship has improved vastly from last year, I reckon. Not an insult to the drivers last year, but the level of competition this year has just stepped up another notch, and it's been great.
Already getting 1 or 2 suggestions coming through in the live chat about what the circuit for the last round of the season may be, and we'll reveal that a little bit later on tonight when we have a chance, possibly between races. We'll take a look at the upcoming events for AMS Oz, and all will be revealed. Lime Mitch was one of those drivers to have a decent point scoring result at the last round. Finds himself in P7 at the moment. His Gold Coast round was a 3rd place finish in race 1 after everything was said and done. Dropped a little bit in race 2 with an 8th place finish, but currently overall in a relatively strong position in the points, firmly entrenched inside the top 10 and out for more points. He actually finished ahead of Will Devenish in the latest round of Porsche Cup, which finished up its series on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
and
he did gazump him. He did take 2nd in the championship from Will, and Will was actually 1 position away from cementing 2nd in the championship, and he wasn't able to do it. So good stuff from Lime Mitch, and obviously the champion in that series being Luke Rosella. With 1 round to spare, he wrapped up the championship, but Lime Mitch taking a stellar 2nd position. He got 2 or 3 race wins in the season. I know he won race 1 at Long Beach because I was there. But I'm sure he won another race somewhere. But Lime Mitch, he's coming on strong.
Yep, there was at least 2 or 3 on the season that he got, and he got another win, obviously, on that night as well. So he's found his form. He's definitely ditched that 4th Mitch moniker that we've harped about for so long. And now finds himself in the top 10, a regular top 10 runner, which is good to see.
I've just noticed something on Will's car.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the font of the number on the door. It actually looks like the 5 looks like it should be, I think it's Highway Gothic. Looks like it's on a street sign.
Yeah, it looks like one of those. I sort of see the resemblance that you're on about. The livery he's running will detail in a little bit. A couple of eagle-eyed viewers out there will know that it's the 1996 Craig Lowndes livery. And this is Will Devenish's last roll of the dice if he wants pole position here. Currently Stenberg's gone to the top, not by very much.
You won't get another lap in. No one's going to get another lap in here.
No, most people have aborted it at the moment. So the next people that I'm looking at on the circuit ahead of Will Devenish
have Peter's gone off. He's done the Larry Perkins line in 1997. Wow, look at that.
And yeah, he's aborted that lap as well. And Will Devenish has given it away as well. So Savage has aborted it. Now, who else is out there on the circuit at the minute? There is a 12th place car that's out. There's Cam Rutledge. He's now pulling into the lane, so that's done and dusted. With Savage out, the next one would be Lime Mitch, who's been dropped down to 8th. So this all happened pretty quickly while we were having a good old yak. And Lime Mitch finds a bit of time, moves back up to P7. That's a good result for him. And the next one I think I'm looking for is Matt Cecil, and he's off the road. He's off the road at the final corner. And after that, who the next man would be, Lewis Wedding. And he's finished. So he's just touring in for, I guess, cheese and crackers in the pit garage.
Indeed. And actually plenty of retro liveries in the field, looking very, very good. A wild card as well, RSM Latino. He's come over from the ASC series as that has wrapped up for the year. He finished 2nd in the ASC Super 2 Championship, and Steve Warwick as well, I see, has entered as well in a Alan Grice Craven Mild livery.
There you go. I was trying to work out what that livery was, but a few people were saying it looks like the brown colour looks resemblant of the livery on the A9X Bill Patterson Tirana from back in the day. But no, I think you've hit that one spot on the head there for Steve Warwick.
Yeah, every time I see an Alan Grice car, I always think of Les Small, who was very well associated with him for much of his career, and had the privilege of meeting Les and Benny Grice, in fact, at Winton one year. So very, very nice couple of dudes there. And Ben Grice, he can steer just like his old man, and Les, he continues the legacy with his son James in America, crew chief at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Absolutely right. Well, while you're still getting yourself together there, Hans, what we might do is have a little bit of a quick look at the point situation. Actually, looks like you're in at the moment, which is good to see. And let's bring up the point standings as they currently stand with just 2 rounds to go. So the gap, as you can see there at the top of your points graphic between Kurt Stenberg and Will Devenish, is 261 points. Now, with 300 points on offer for a race win across the 2 race wins tonight, and 300 points up for grabs in the final race in a couple of weeks' time, all that Kurt has to do is have a 300-point lead or more tonight, and regardless of what happens next week, he will be crowned the AMS Oz Supercars champion for 2020. If it's under 300, the fight goes on to the final round. Brenton Foley looking pretty safe at the moment in 3rd place. Don't discount him for a podium finish or 2 if he can vault himself up the order a little bit. Steve Burko has done wonders, and he looks pretty safe in 4th. But then look at this logjam between 5th, 6th and 7th. Termo, Lewis Wedding, Pete Savage, and to a degree Luke Rosella if he's not here tonight, but if he'll be here for the next round. If they can all get themselves together, then there's a few places that can change hands there. Lime Mitch, by virtue of his better place finishes and podium finishes, finds himself ahead of Brendan Ross there, tied on points. And then Cam Rutledge and Liam Spencer, who's no longer running in the series, just inside the top 12 there. The driver I've put in focus tonight, Hans, you haven't had a chance to look at these screen grabs, is Ozrob for CRE Race Engineering, substituted in for Liam Spencer a couple of rounds ago, and I guess we can call him then the Supercars substitute, because with an 8th place finish at Phillip Island and a pair of 5th place finishes at the Gold Coast, he's been a pretty handy sub for CRE.
You're spot on there, and we have seen him in operation in, I think it's the V8 Scops series. I've seen him make pre-qualifying before, and maybe even to Super Split 2, but I don't know. I've seen him do well there, and Ozrob, he's sort of one of those guys. He is there or thereabouts. He's a bit like Turmo in that sense.
Yeah, it's very, very handy behind the wheel. Put in some good results. And every now and again they'll have the occasional odd result, but he's done pretty well for the 2 races contested. He only has just arrived in the server, just arrived at the back end of qualifying and didn't set a lap in. So he's going to be starting rear of grid for this one, but it'd be good to see what he can do over the course of the night's proceedings. Teams points, that's a different matter in point. Lou Simsport Falcons head the way from CRE Race Engineering ZB Commodores, so it's down to a battle in 2 as to who takes the team's title for 2020. Now, the one bit we haven't worked out with this is the math, because there are 2 cars in Lou Simsport stable that can score points in any given night. We'll actually have to go back and double check a couple of those results. And there's also 2 cars in CRE Race Engineering. And of course, there's a lot more points on offer than just your standard 300. If a car was to take 2 wins, you've got to factor in the team car as well. So looking set to head down to the last round of the season for that. We'll get a bit of more of a points calculation a bit later on tonight. Warm-up session underway. It's a little bit shorter than usual. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not. Driver's briefing should have been conducted and over and done with by now. Hans, you were present for the last round where we had the chaos of the Gold Coast. Now, one thing we do need to touch on is we did remark quite a lot that the race stewards were probably going to have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely happened.
And on top of that, the record, I think a record number of penalties handed out in any series, which is not good by any means. There were 43 incidents looked at, and 3 of those were thrown out. 3 of those received a warning. The rest all received a punishment of some nature or another. Everything ranging from time penalties and points penalties to race disqualifications as well. And unfortunately, in one case, it means that a driver is no longer with us in the series. So that person has unfortunately had a few warnings and is no longer taking part. And one of the other drivers that received a pretty severe punishment was set to start rear of grid for both races tonight as his punishment, and then promptly went and broke his wheel in another series. So he's unfortunately sitting on the sidelines tonight.
Sad times for everyone. But what is not a sad story right now is PBF young charger himself, Benjamin Rhodes. He's actually roadie. He's running the number 1 by special dispensation. He's turned out in this fantastic 2003 Mark Scaife livery. In fact, this livery here at this very track won the Sandown 500 in 2003.
Yep, we actually have that on the screen.
Kelly and Mark Scaife at the helm. So
we actually have that car on screen at the minute, so we'll go to live picture so we can actually show you this car. That wasn't the one thing that grabbed me at the point in time that happened. We'll get a good view of this here. He's slowing down for us. You can see that it says Rhodes and then it says Scaife. That was what the problem was for me. He didn't want to take the the heritage out of the car and just decided to put his own label above that. So what makes him think that he would like to share a race car with Scaife is beyond me. But he is, as you said, running the 2003 livery, which back in the day found itself onto a VZ Commodore.
Now, if I want to get all nitpicky and stuff, in a lot of 2-driver combinations in the V8 supercars, they usually have a alphabetical order, and then on the other side of the window is reverse alphabetical order. So it should be Rhodes Scaife on one side and Scaife Rhodes on the other side. That's just me. If I were a sign writer, I don't know. Maybe Brennan Ross can chime in. He's a sign writer by trade. But actually, speaking of sign writers and stuff, given the number of Holden Racing Team cars in the field, I'm thinking it's never astray to go and visit Sandown, which is run by a bloke called Doug Brumby, and he's done all the sign writing for the Holden Racing team, or the Walkinshaw Racing, since 1994. So very good job there, and some fantastic liveries to boot.
Yeah, absolutely. Does all those liveries and has done a good job for many, many years. We haven't had a chance to have a good look at our track info tonight, and I don't think we'll get much of a chance, as the warm-up session was a little bit shorter than we were expecting. And we're about to go to a race start here. So it's actually a 30-lap duration for tonight. 2 lots of 30 laps, I should say. And the grid forming up to get ready to go. We might take a look at the race info in between sessions as well, and we can have a bit more of a discussion around the track. But most of you know this circuit pretty well. For those of you that have not seen this circuit before, go out and read your history books. And the grid is now rolling. Hans, as per usual, you have the honours.
The only discussion that should take place here is whose engine has the most grunt, because that's all that matters around Sandown. It's 2 long straights combined together with a couple of twisty sections, and it's all about horsepower here. Sandown, the home of horsepower. Kurt Stenberg's got a lot of horsepower right now. He's on pole position. Following him is Will Devenish. Last roll of the dice in the quali session didn't quite work out. Followed by Pete Savage in the 2005 Better Electrical Falcon. Brendan Foley in a Thanks Holden livery, running 074 by special dispensation. Scott Nolan makes his return to AMSL Supercars for SSR Racing. Steve Burko in a 888 livery Vodafone car. Lime Mitch in the Llama Mobile. Lewis Vedding in the Autobahn 2009 livery Falcon. We got I'm not sure if he's got the meme livery in.
He does. He does.
He's got it. It's not showing up on my screen, but it's on your screen, so that's all that matters. Nathan Higginson starts from row number 5. Alongside him will be Steve Warwick in the Alan Grice tribute car. Following him is Audrey Mishra and Cam Rutledge. Cam Rutledge he is definitely getting quicker as the season goes on, and a new shoulder to the boot. So there we go. He's all tuned up and ready to go. Termo in a Jack Daniels, wonderful Jack Daniels livery. Not sure which year that's from, but I'm sure it's a Kelly Racing era. RSM Latino shares the 7th row of the grid with Termo. Matt Cecil, he's missed a start in 15th. Rhodey has no one beside him on the 8th row in 16th, and Scaife livery. Oz Rob from 17th, and that rounds out the field right now. I think we're missing a couple of people though.
Yeah, I think it looks like Avenger Ben may have dropped out. He did say that in the live chat that there was a family issue that had come up just recently, and Kalen Duncan looks like he's dropped out as well. That would have been the Michael Caruso Nissan livery, so he's not there as well. And Brendan Ross, I'm waiting to see where he is. He's, I think, a late arrival. He's in the live chat at the moment. Hopefully we'll get him for race number 2. Of course, the daylight saving plays a little bit of havoc with things nowadays. What doesn't play havoc with things is the starting lights. They wait for nobody. Let's go racing at the home of horsepower. Sandown, Steve Warwick, jump start. That's not a good thing to have on debut. But what was good about this one for Will Devenish is he nailed the start. That's been his weak point all season long. And he finally gets one on Kurt Stenberg and succeeds around the outside into turn 1.
Kurt Stenberg went nowhere, just way too much wheel spin. Oh, he's giving him a big hurry up through the S's.
Single file through this part of the track. Be very lucky to try and pull a pass off at this early stage of proceedings. Just settle down, get your bearings about you. There is a massive hurry up going on from Will Devenish from Kurt Stenberg, and he's going to have a look at the inside at turn 6. He's got to be careful here. He's got to be far enough ahead to take position. Is he going to do it? No. Stays hard. If they try and run side by side, how have they gotten through there this early? Cones go flying. Stenberg takes the race lead back at turn 9.
It's like the last lap. This is unbelievable. Oh, there's trouble in the back of the field. That's Steve Burko. He nearly went round, and Higo was involved in that as well. And it's causing chaos everywhere. It seems to be a bottleneck just underneath the bridge. Just coming into the final chicane now, and Higo, has he spun it? No, he caught it.
Kept it the right way, but that's going to give an incentive to Lewis Wedding to make a pass down here at turn 1. He'll be close enough. You're going to follow in the draft. Is he going to go the long way or the short way? Nope, looks at the long way.
Steve Warwick peels into the pits immediately for his drive-through penalty.
Oh, Wedding's off! He's off in the boonies! He's off at turn 1. And he's going to have to go the long way now. He's going to have to be careful about where he feeds back on here. And that's about as good. That's about as good as you're going to get, I think.
There's 4 different colours of Telstra sign there. He's knocked out one of them and 3 remain. So there you go.
Well, here it is from the T-cam of the onboard, worthy of a replay. Did you just miss the braking point? Oh yeah, by a mile. You don't break at 100 metre board. You've got to break a lot earlier than that. And he has gone sailing off into the boonies, as he would call it.
Ooh, Nolan's having trouble trying to keep Lime Mitch behind. He just had a bit of a slide on at Dandenong Road corner. And he gets a bit of breathing room from Lime Mitch at this moment in time. Steered well wide of the apex at both the corners in the final chicane.
Yeah, didn't use any of the inside curb, and you have to use that inside curb at turn 11 it is to pull the car around a little bit. So,
oh, Will Devenish, is he going to go up? No. Steers a bit wide there, so he's lost a bit of time on Stenberg.
oh, Nolan off the road. Nolan off the road, having to skate it through to save it. Will cough up a position to Lime Mitchell, will he? No. Fights it back. Now he has to take evasive action, and he might very well have to give that one up, I think. He's kept the position there by going off track. So he mucked it up a little bit, and you can see Lime Mitch flashing the lights. He's not happy, and now Scotty Nolan's redressing.
I think it's one of those things. You just need to take the pain now and continue the race. Oh, Will Devenish. Oh, he nearly got it all crossed up into turn 7. That is unbelievable.
And Foley's in this battle too, and so too is Pete Savage. So early goings here, taking a lot of extra liberties. Oh, Will's done the same thing that Nolan did, missed the inside curb on the run through turn 11. That being said, though, the gap is not going up in huge chunks, but it is going up at about 2 or 3 tenths of a lap. And at a place like Sandown, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot at Sandown. Just a touch under a 70-second lap time here. Kurt Stenberg, fastest lap with a 1:07.6, I think it was. 1:07.6.
Yeah, 1:07.680 to be precise. That's what it was according to live races. And now it's Lime Mitch's turn to be a cork in the champagne bottle over the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th place. Don't count Higginson out of that. He's very much in the thick of things right there. And then we go back to the next battle pack, which Lewis Wedding has managed to get back past Cam Rutledge after his off-track excursion. And I saw Ujit Mishra as being freight trained on my other screen before. Not only did Rutledge managed to go past, but Turmo went through as well. And then behind him is RSM Latino and Ozrob. Oh, he's off the road. Mishra's off the road, and he's whacked the fence. And he's off the road, and that might be his race done. We on board, and yeah, he's out. Out of commission. That was happening in the background. So let's see, has he killed an engine going through turn 6 here? We'll go on board, listen to the Volvo's flat plane crank. Oh, it's a bit late in the braking zone too, and yep, and no, the engine was still running, but I just think that he has just given up the ghost a little bit there.
Massive battle pack forming. Lime Mitch, Scott Nolan and Steve Burko. They've just managed to drop Nathan Higginson slightly. And, I mean, you could put a blanket between all 3 of them right now. They're separated by absolute nothing.
Yeah, I think Scotty Nolan might be just content here to follow in Lime Mitch's wheel tracks for a bit, but nobody's doing that! Wow! Big moment for Scott Nolan. Lucky not to lose a spot to Steve Burko and all of that.
With the Ujit Mishra. 1 lap prior.
I was going to say, he almost went off in sympathy there if he was trying to do an Ujit Mishra, but sympathy means you're supposed to go off the same lap.
I think it's a matter of better late than never for Nolan. It's a pretty wild battle at the back of the field between Turmo, RSM Latino and Ozrob. And Cam Rutledge is not far ahead of that battle either.
No, so that's the battle that's just behind here. Here it is right now on screen.
10th through to 13th, you can't even separate them either.
No, so Cam Rutledge's livery for this round is a bit of a hybrid mix of Holden Racing Team livery. You can see there's CRE Electrical on one side, there's Irwin Tools on the other side. Of course, the Irwin Tools is a Team 18 and Mark Winterbottom livery sponsor that they have this year and obviously going to have next year as well. So he's put a bit of his own sort of spin on it. And you're right about the Termo livery behind him. It is a Kelly Racing inspired livery. We've seen Termo run this sort of a livery on a Camaro in GT3 series last year or the year before, I believe. But I think he's probably put his own sort of spin on this one, maybe mixed a little bit of the different liveries from the different years that Kelly Racing ran it as Jack Daniels Racing in this case.
Nolan in turn 1, too wide.
Yep, just ahead. There they go.
Here we go. Oh, bit of bump there. Bit of bump in the middle of the corner.
Can he ride the curb? Can Roland ride the curb? No, didn't ride the first curb, but he's managed to hold on.
Oh, look at that. Look how much ground he managed to make back up on the way into turn 4.
And Burko might be
known as a passing opportunity for this reason right here, because you get an absolute shocker of a run onto the main straight.
Burko, I'm wondering if he's going to be the beneficiary here. These guys tripping over each other, but his car's stalling in the draft here on Lime Mitch, and he's just backing out a little bit early and just pacing himself here, just waiting for his next opportunity. So he was lucky not to be able to nip one up the inside there and follow Lime Mitch through at turn 4 when he tried to repass Nolan. But Nolan's the one that's come out with 5th place after all of that. So he gets back to 5th, which is where he was after that mistake a couple of laps ago at the turn 2 and 3 chicane. Now, can he pull away from Lime Mitch?
Almost better to break earlier into some of these corners, because if you get it wrong, you can get it wrong quite quickly. Or just saw Kurt Stenberg hocking the wheel over the curb and got way up onto 2 wheels. So you have to drive it around here.
Yeah, you've got to use those curbs, just like Scotty Nolan's doing there. Just got to use them to perfection. Just got to not bounce the car so much in the air. Got to ride the curbs nicely and just control your speed. And that's the fastest line through that chicane. Stenberg comfortably in control at the moment. 2.3 seconds the margin. And doing everything he needs to do right now.
Oh, Foley's off. He's off at Dandenong Road corner.
There he goes, and there goes Pete Savage into a podium position. So very easy to lock a break down into Dandenong Road, and Brenton Foley has done precisely that. This livery, a throwback to the very first livery that he ever painted for Supercars Championship in AMS Oz, just minus the Jet Couriers, and in place there's Thanks Holden. And I wasn't as bad as what I thought it was, but just maybe 2 or 3 metres too late on the brakes.
Yeah, those 2 or 3 metres are very critical. You get to the apex of the corner and you realise the car just wants to keep going forward, which makes you push the brake pedal even harder, and it thus exacerbates the problem.
A couple of comments in the live chat. Uja Mishra, the engine did break from the impact after that, and he's also said that his chair's rolled back again. That's not the first time we've heard that. Somebody buy this boy a handful of wheel chocks so he can keep that chair in place, please.
Someone should invest in a sim rig for him. I reckon it would be about 2 seconds faster if he had a proper sim rig. Dead set.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We'll have to see if we can find something to ship to the Philippines for him, because that's where he's based. It's good to see him back out there, backing up from his podium finish, which was resulted after all the penalties that were applied after the Gold Coast. Hard to imagine, Hans, we're already at the 1/3 distance mark of this race, but this is what happens at Sandown. It goes by really quick.
Yeah, it's gone quite quickly. So yeah, it's just gone quite quickly. I don't know what to say about that.
Now, Nathan Higginson has slipped back into the clutches of Termo and his company that are trailing behind the ZB Commodore with the Jack Daniels livery on it.
It's going to become a 5-car battle pack almost.
Yeah. Osrob's done pretty well here. He started plumb last and he's moved up to 11th place. So he's knocking on the door of another top 10 finish. And we kept saying at the beginning of the broadcast when we looked at him being the super substitute, he really is just showing his credentials every time he gets out there on track. So doesn't matter where he qualifies, or if he has to start from the back of the grid, he's able to pick his way through quite nicely.
Yeah, if you look at his underneath his rear wing, it says go and ascend it. So he's sending it so far. He's currently gained 8 positions in the first third of this race. Oh, a bit of a slide there. But it doesn't make him too vulnerable to RSM Latino behind. Cuz Berenjuela.
Glad you got the pronunciation right.
I believe he's Cuban. I don't know. I mean, I might get a smack over the head in a minute afterwards by the ASC guys. But who knows? Who knows? I think he's Cuban.
I thought he was a Kiwi. If he was Cuban, I would have imagined he would have been from Florida, not Cuba.
Oh, here you go. Oh, he's got a massive tank slapper on in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, he's done that a couple of times now. We've seen him a bit of sideways action. He's renowned for this. I think his role model, I think, when it comes to getting the car sideways is Brenton Foley.
I think he's probably been listening to a bit of Scaife commentary too much. He just wants to reenact it all the time.
We should start thinking about pit stops and where the pit stop sequences are going to start here, Hans. It's an easy one stop from what Brenton Foley was telling me earlier in the night. So it doesn't matter when you come in, you'll be able to fill up and get home quite comfortably. It's really just a matter of how you use the rubber that's underneath you. If you want to take some extra tyres or if you think you can go the distance, you've got to change some tyres anyway, but it depends on what tyres you want to change.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got a couple of choices. You can change your fronts or your rears, or you can change all of them. There's literally no other options.
Yeah, not in these cars there isn't. You can't just change one or two individual tyres. And here's Nathan Higginson defending from Turmo. And
defending for his life, as it were.
Yeah, defending for his life early. Turmo not sort of quite ready to send it yet. I'm wondering whether he's waiting for the pit stop opportunities. A little bit of a sneaky look there between turns 3 and 4. Probably the most interesting of the battles on track at the moment. It's the biggest battle pack that we have on track at the moment.
It's got Holden is quite well represented here with 4 ZB Commodores and 1 Nissan. So make of that what you will.
No, definitely will. We haven't had much of a chance.
More than... Oh, here you go. He was wide there. He was so wide.
Oh, and he's off the road. There he goes.
He's off.
And that's all the incentive these guys need to go through. You're going to get freight trained here. Turmo through. Ozrob through. RSM Latino through. Cam Rutledge, is he going to round him up? Yes, he will. So Cam was inside the top 10 for a little while earlier in this race. So he's had a moment and fallen back. And that little mistake from Higginson was all that needed to happen for him to lose 4 spots in a blink of an eye.
What I was about to say before Higo decided to throw it off the road was that there's more Commodores in this battle pack, more ZB Commodores in this battle pack.
Oh, Stenberg had a big moment. Sorry to cut you off there, Hans. He had a huge moment just as we were watching Nolan in the pit lane. He had a massive slide coming down the S's en route to turn 9. I do apologise for cutting over for this one, but we'll have a bit of a look to see what happened there. And no surprise, he's actually coming into the pit lane. So throwing that one away, threw a huge amount of advantage away. A little bit of curb on the inside. Tail got a bit happy. Big control moment. Whoa, whack. Got the wall as well. Lucky not to rotate the car. He saved that really well. Keep it pointing the right direction.
I'm concerned he might be carrying a bit of damage. So, I mean, it's a good lap to pit if that's going to happen to you. But not ideal for Stenberg.
No, that's certainly not going to be a planned stop by any stretch of the imagination. Now, where does he feed back out? It's the next question. He's it was an unplanned stop. So here comes this battle pack. Look at this. There they go. That huge battle pack. So Turmo, Ozrob.
Oh, Ozrob's going to send it. He's going to send it.
Yep, he is going to send it. He's going to get it at turn 1.
He's going to make it.
Yes, he does. Very nicely done. So this is actually bad news, I would say, for Stenberg. He's now caught in this traffic. Now, if I was Will Devenish, I would be in this lap. I would get the job over and done with. Don't waste any time. Just get in there and get your lap done because you've gained track position, you've gained time, but he's going around again.
Will, what are you doing?
We're going to have to
keep... If I were your crew chief, I would smack him over the head.
We're going to have to keep an eye on this gap. So where is Stenberg in proceedings? He's 39.2 seconds behind as it stands right now.
Foley's in, so this might work out good for him.
Yeah, so pit stops are starting to be triggered just before half distance. That was all triggered by what's the name? It was triggered by Scott Nolan. So he was the first man that was in for a scheduled stop. And he fed out behind that battle. So he was obviously a bit further down the order. So he's now into 13th. Now, where is Stenberg in this? So still 39.2. But we're just waiting on that to update as he comes through the last few sectors to see what the gap is. 39.4. So he actually gained 0.2 of a second. So if Will's got the blinkers on and he's pushing here, he's doing the right thing. But it's a very fine line to tread.
Say 0.2 of a second isn't quite worth it.
No, it's going to have to be a lot more than that.
I mean, it's just me, but you know.
The thing
Yeah,
for...
I'm not his crew chief.
No. Well, the thing for Stenberg, if we go back and take a look at him in 9th place, he's having to pick his way through this battle. Now, Cuz has given him a nice little bit of a draft there, and we'll just let him have this up the back straight. But the hard part is picking your way through the traffic. It's now out to 39.5 seconds. That's 0.3 on this lap alone. And these guys are obviously in a battle in their own right, so got to be very, very careful here. Great exit.
Gain into Sandown Road corner under brakes. Pretty impressive.
Yep, and Turmo lets him have it. So Turmo decides the battle is not with you and me. The battle's between me and Ozrob. And he needs to fight that a little bit later on with Ozrob. He's going to save himself. Get across the line this time. What's the margin? 39.8. So it has gone up. So Will's found 0.6 of a second. But Pete Savage also yet to pit. Steve Burko and Lewis Wedding yet to pit. Corrected order. Stenberg is technically the race leader until we know what happens out in front.
39 seconds for Will Devenish. He pits now. Oh, Stenberg's given Ozrob a little bit of a bump into turn 4. Yeah, so...
Oh, and another one too. Sorry, another one there, Hans, through turn 5.
Bump draft?
Well,
no, maybe not.
Rob's entitled to defend his position here. Is there going to be a sand? Oh, and he's partially off the track there as well, but he's managed to sneak through. Now that's critical. Where's Devenish? I think he's in.
Clear air. He
No.
can get his head down.
He's not in clear air. He's got lap traffic as well. Now it looks like he's getting ready to pit. So maybe timing because he's coming up to the back of Matt Cecil and Steve Warwick. Matt Cecil, of course, started from the pit lane. Steve Warwick had a drive-through penalty. That's why those two are pretty close to each other. If I was Will, I'd be getting the headlights on right now to let these guys know that you're on the warpath and coming in for a stop. Hopefully the traffic doesn't pose too much of an issue. 40.6 is the margin at the last sector intermediate that the two men crossed, which would have been the Sector 1 split. And I don't think this is going to be too much of an issue for Devenish, and that's actually pretty good. So the traffic's worked out pretty well for him there. He's very lucky.
Could have gone the other way, but so that's good for Will to have some luck in this race. And he comes in slow run down pit lane at Sandown. Not the longest pit lane out there, but like all other pit lanes. Double stacking is there. Oh, that was close.
And here comes Steve Burko, so he's in the lane as well. Pete Savage has gone through. And Lewis Wedding continues on. Now, where's Kurt Stenberg in this? Coming up to the final chicane now. 100 to keep eyes on our man in second place in the championship, Will Devenish. Where is he at the moment?
And
He's
got the pit limiter off, and he's coming onto the main straight now. I'm not sure if he's going to make it.
He's got it.
He's got it.
He's done it.
Got it.
Well done. So he's managed. So he did time it right after all of that. So he made a gain, and that little bit of extra time that Stenberg was stuck in traffic has worked to his advantage. This is game on.
I was doubting the move, but it seems to have worked out so far for Will.
I was a bit worried when he was catching up to the back of Matt Cecil that it might have just gone the other way a little bit, but that little bit of extra time for Stenberg stuck in traffic has worked wonders. We also saw Nathan Higginson was around the final corner. We've just lost Steve Warwick, I believe, as well in the last 30 seconds or so. He's falling down the order.
Yeah.
And both Stenberg and Devenish now pushing as hard as they can.
He's done, I think Steve Warwick's done the Orjat Mishra, actually.
Yeah, it looks like it's a bit far back on
He
the...
lost it coming into turn 6, and he's whacked that wall. He's whacked that tyre wall very, very hard. The car's rolled over,
Oy.
and it's lost a right rear wheel. So that's day done for... Sorry, front right wheel. I thought it was a right rear wheel for a second. No, front right wheel is gone. and his chances of finishing this race are gone as well.
Well, Pete Savage gets out just ahead of Brenton Foley, so that had closed up after Foley had gone off the road and made his stop. He'd made a little bit of ground there, and he's got the fresher tyre, or the warmer tyres at the moment. Savage got to get his up to temperature. And a late send from Foley going into turn 2. Big two-wheel moment. Can he get him on the switchback? Will he send it at 4? Yes, he does. Gets up on 2 wheels on the curb. Leaves space for Savage.
Yeah, he's going to run out of here now because Peter's just gone past him again.
Yep, he certainly has. Now he's going to use the slipstream, and Savage is going to park it straight in the middle of the road, is he? No, leaves a bit of room. Foley has got a really good run here.
Lewis Wedding, he's up the front. He might be going...
I think Wedding's going long here as this battle behind him resumes.
Yeah, he's going long, so might not be a terrible strategy for young Lewis.
Yep. A little bit of back marker traffic as well for Devenish and Stenberg to negotiate in roadie, just on the other camera. They managed to round him up down the main straight. There they go, just in background a shot. And Foley's going to have to try again here. Some really good liveries being produced for this round, as Foley thinks about another look into turn 1. Oh, that's a late abort. That's a really late abort into turn 1. The car that he is chasing, of course, Hans, a lot of people recognise the livery on this one. The 2006 Craig Lowndes Better Electrical car from its Ford days, being reprised on a Ford yet again.
Good looking car, this, isn't it? I mean, you'd think it's a chaotic livery, but it actually works quite well.
Yeah, it's worked quite well. Back in the day, of course, on the BA and the BF guys, when it was back in those days, but it doesn't take too much. The facelifted front for an FG and an FGX is not too far removed from the BF Falcon, so it has fit most of the car quite well.
Indeed, you've just got the Aston Martin grille in the middle.
Yeah, it's common on all the Ford products nowadays. Fastest lap of the race for Will Devenish was immediately surpassed by Kurt Stenberg that last time around. So 107.7 was surpassed by a 107.458. So that battle for what is essentially the lead of this race is not over just yet. Gap currently sits at just a hair under 2 seconds.
Setting heaters right now. They're trying to catch Lewis Wedding, who's running long into this race.
Yeah, here he is. Now, I'm wondering how far the fuel can actually go in this race. We haven't got a fuel number. All we knew was that it was an easy one stop, and Lewis is proving this. Wondering whether he might be in the next lap or two. Now, there's some eagle-eyed viewers out there that think that you know where this livery came from. Think again. This is not one of the Lowndes 888 car liveries from the time when it ran in the Bathurst 1000. You have to go all the way back to 2008 when this livery ran, believe it or not, on a VE Commodore. It was a number 16 Paul Dumbrell HSV dealer team Commodore that ran this particular livery. And, well, if you're a Holden fan, I guess you'd be saying, well, the sacrilege is complete now, isn't it?
Oh, well. Dumbrell drove a Ford later on, that's all right.
He did too, actually. That's the one thing a lot of people forget, is that he did drive a Ford for a bit. And I'm actually waiting to see when...
They're all just panels after a while. They're all just panels.
And the sister car to this that we're looking to see forward to seeing a livery for a bit later on, hopefully, is when Brendan Ross gets out there for race 2. There's another livery from the HSV dealer team in the day as well that he's painted up for this one. Live chat, comments coming through. No, it isn't a timed race tonight for John Wright. It's a lap counted race of 30 laps, and we expect it's probably going to take somewhere around about the 35-minute mark to complete.
We may have a time certain finish if Sandown turns into an ice rink like it did 17 years ago. So that is still yet to come. It is Sandown. It's in Springvale, about 40 minutes outside of Melbourne CBD, and anything does happen here, and it quite usually does. 4 seasons in one day commonly has been observed. The gap from the lead to Will Devenish is under a second now. Actually, it's...
Oh, Savage made a mistake. Sorry. Hans Savage made a mistake at the first chicane, and Foley made the same mistake. He wasn't close enough to do it, and now he's over-eager on the throttle and lost a lot more track position. That was a little bit ugly from both of them. Foley's eyes lit up and thought he could capitalise on the mistake, but he just wasn't able to do it and ended up making the same mistake.
That's what happens when you have too much of a big dip, both for Peter and for Foley. And Peter, he had a dip, it all went wrong. Foley, he also had a dip, got the thing right out sideways over the curb. And, he's right out sideways again, so that's how he likes it.
Well, it's customary for Brenton Foley to be right out sideways, isn't it?
Lewis Wedding in the pits.
All right, that now cleanses the field. There he goes. So that puts Will Devenish into the race lead. 7 laps to run and a margin of 1.7 seconds. Pete Savage now goes through to third and Foley to fourth. Now, where does Lewis Wedding feed into all of this? He's going to feed in behind Scott Nolan, who goes through. Wedding on the move. And the next man in the queue we are looking for is Lime Mitch. And enter stage right, exit stage left. There he goes. And there goes Steve Burko in the Sister Lou Simsport Falcon. And Wedding's going to get out ahead of Higginson. But Higginson has gone a lap down. And he's well clear of Termo in 9th place. And RSM Latino's got himself into the top 10, so it's a pretty solid result on debut for him at the moment. In the Tim Slade ZB Commodore from a couple of years ago. Oh, drive-through penalty, Kurt Stenberg, out of nowhere. Has he got a track cut for that?
I think that might be a track cut.
Yeah, it has to be. I reckon it's a track cut at the final corner, at the final chicane. So that puts any pay dirt to his chances of a race victory here.
Second last corner in that chicane, he's gone all 4 wheels over the yellow line.
Oh dear. Now, that'll be interesting to see where he feeds back into this battle, if he feeds in behind Savage and Foley. It was okay through there. Oh yeah, he just went off. He just rewind it back. Just have a look here. There it is, right there. All 4 wheels just on the wrong side of that exit curb at turn 12. So, a little bit of a driving error there.
What by?
Oh, Cam Rutledge! Fenced! There he goes! And Stenberg just got another one. Did he just get another penalty, or is my eyes deceiving me?
I don't think so. It's not come up on my screen.
I just had it flash up on my screen just there. Just keep an eye on that for a moment, Hans. We're just going to go back and have a quick check of this. We'll fast forward it forward. Maybe it might be a little error on my part. No, he did get another one. He did get another one for being the wrong side at turn 7.
You're kidding.
So
that's unbelievable.
So he's had to do a drive-through for this one. Now, I'm not 100% sure if the penalties are sequential or not. He's gone down to 4th. He's going to lose. Is he going to lose 5th to Nolan here? He might be in danger of it. Yeah, there goes Scotty Nolan. So Nolan up to 4th. Lime Mitch will come around and might be shot. No, there's Lime Mitch in the background. No, so the penalties are stacked, so that's okay. So it's only the one drive-through penalty for Stenberg. He'll be breathing a sigh of relief after that, but he has got no more lives in this race, and he needs to be careful or he's going to lose a bunch more spots.
Now he's coming up on the back of Rhodey here. Rhodey in 13th, Stenberg in 5th. I think he's going to be very impressed with the livery of this car, because Stenberg, he does have quite an affection for Mr. M. Scaife of Wyong near Gosford in New South Wales, Central Coast.
Yes, the man himself, as we call it, the Scafey quote a day, keeping the doctor away. Look that one up on Facebook, guys. That's where...
So that's actually Denny's page, funnily enough.
It's Denny's fan page. I think the... Oh, Rhodey! Gone deep! And... gone. No, got back on.
He's almost done the Jason Richards at 2003 Sandown 500. That's not the first time.
Oh, he's got another one. You're joking me. You are joking me.
Oh, no.
And
he's taking way too many things there with the final chicane.
He's doing a 2 or 3...
That actually is the problem here. It's quite easy to do.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. It's no different to going deep at Dandenong Road. There was Rhodey exiting stage right.
Well, Steve, you get tempted. You get tempted to just hack up the right-hander as much as you can to get a good run out of the left-hander. And this is just...
I think it was before that, Hans. I actually think he got it at turn 11. He got it at the first part of that chicane. He was all four wheels off the deck on the wrong side through that last corner. Now, that corner has been reprofiled this year for our racing because there were a number of drivers in earlier seasons that have hacked the living daylights out of that corner and were able to take all four wheels off the deck, which in real life you can't do. So it was tidied up deliberately for this year in Super 2, and that is the same track we're using tonight, and Stenny's just gotten himself all crossed up there.
It's a matter of being able to sight the corner, and it is a little bit of a problem in these cars.
So what that's done is it's put Brenton Foley onto the podium in third place, and it's put this man, Pete Savage, into second place in the race. That would be another second place consecutive on the season for him. He had a fourth place in the first race of Surfers Paradise. Before that, it was a third place at Phillip Island. So Pete Savage putting together a nice little strong batch of results late on in the season. And Foley putting a couple of podiums together in the back end of the season as well.
A bit of silly season talk yet to come as the season starts to wrap up. Going to see a few drivers on the move.
Stenny's fallen outside the top 10 here, Hans. Sorry to cut you off. He's outside the top 10. There he goes. He's gone a lap down to the race leaders. So he must have got another one.
Maybe taking new tyres. I'm not sure. I'll have a look.
No, that was a drive-through. He just did a plain straight drive-through of the whole entire pit lane. So I think he may have got another one. He's not having a good run here in this particular race. He's just going to have to regroup and have another go. Have another dip, as he likes to call it, in race 2.
Big dip. A B1G D1P.
I think
definitely know what I thought.
Brian Walsh's comments coming through on the live stream that he calls that Tim Redmond rather, in poker they call that tilted, but I thought that was a pinball term, that's tilt.
Yeah, what I thought. I think, who's that? That's Assetto Corsa Down Under Series, Australia Down Under Series. I think, is that John Wright, is it?
Yes, that's correct. So John Wright, happened Higginson. Yeah, we lost Nathan Higginson back on lap 23. We're not quite sure what's happened there. We haven't been keeping up to date 100% on all the retirements for this one. We have a look. He's exited with suspension damage.
The front's fallen off, if anyone remembers that video.
Oh, yes.
Front's fallen off.
I think most of the guys that have had a front or something fall off the car today have been involved at turn 6 and 7.
I'm running through the replays right now, trying to find Nathan Higginson, young Higgo, and see what was the reason for his DNF result. I'm probably going to be waiting a while.
Got it in the live chat for you, Hans. Straight on at turn 6. That's all the answer that needs to be said there. I was right. Everybody that has lost a part of their car today has become a victim of 6. The man who hasn't lost a part of his car, and he's kept it pretty clean, and he's done everything he needed to do to start this round. He wanted this one badly, and he gets that win and 150 points to boot. Will Devenish home in position 1. Pete Savage, another podium for him. Second consecutive podium. 3 podiums in the last 4 rounds. Home in second. Another podium for reigning champion Brenton Foley. Home in third. Scotty Nolan, what a good return for him. 4th place finish in that one. Only up the 1 spot, but he will take that every day of the week.
By Nolan. Line Mitch. He's coming across the line. The Super 2 second place getter in the championship. Followed by the Super 2 champion. Inaugural Super 2 champion in AMS Oz, Steve Burko. Followed by Lewis Vetikind. I always do a double take when I see Lewis Vetikind.
I think that's something to do with his retro round livery. I think Hans has decided to go retro on the name as well.
Yes, you're right. I believe that is his name as it was in German before it was anglicised. That's what I think. I think that's what Lewis told me, and I think if I remember correctly, that's it. RSM Latino came across the line in 9th place, 1 lap down. Termo, the last of the finishers, that was not a lap down. Osrob in 10th. Stenberg a very lowly 11th. And
Yeah.
Matt Settle, he's off the road somewhere. So I think he's finished the race, and Brody finishes last of the running cars in 13th, running number 1 by special dispensation.
Yep, he certainly is running number 1 by special dispensation.
I think he made a donation to the Christmas party fund, and he's also provided some red wines, that's for sure.
I think he's made multiple donations here, Hans. He's probably made a donation to not only the Mark Scaife Appreciation Society, but he's probably made a donation to the PBF Christmas Party Fund as well, because taking the number 1 away from Brent Foley, he would have had to prize that number off of him for all that it was worth.
I thought the Mark Scaife Appreciation Society was actually chaired by Mr. Kurt Stenberg. So I'm sure it's all a big love-in going on there.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably is, actually.
Mark Scaife is involved. We love him. We love the bloke.
We do love the bloke. And what we do also love is our top 3 sitters in every race that we get, because it means they get to come up and have a little chat with us. And we've got them here now. Hans, where do we start?
We'll start from 3rd. Brent Foley, a very good performance tonight. 3rd place, few battles, few mistakes, but you managed to get on the podium. Well done.
Yeah, really happy with being on the podium. I kind of thought that I was locked into 4th and wouldn't do much better than that, but Kurt had some troubles and it was to my benefit. But I had an absolutely awesome battle with Peter. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very, very nice battle to watch. But moving on to team matters now. Now, is it or is it not true that you did have a bit of a blow up when Rhodey asked to use number 1 by special dispensation?
Not really a blow up. I had at that point already decided to run the 074 with the retro livery. So there was no blow up. I was happy to hand it over for a round.
A handy steerer and a very magnanimous team owner as well. Foley, good job, mate.
Thanks very much.
Peter the Pumpkin Eater is his name in Discord, one of his many names in Discord that have been going through in the last few months. But Peter, a very good performance in 2nd, and you did come out on top in that battle with Foley.
And that was a pretty cracking battle. It went on for quite a few laps where it was a lot of side-by-side, and it just came down to, you had to absolutely nail it, not make a single mistake to stay in front of the other. And if you did make a mistake, it was on. And it proved to be quite a challenge to get any distance on him. I am very fortunate that I was able to do the full length of the Sandown Enduro last week. And I reckon that's really helped with the consistency.
Yeah, you did a really good performance tonight, but also I was going to go somewhere with this, but I've totally forgotten. Actually, yes, I was going to say, would you have described the race performance tonight and the battle with Foley, would you have described it as effing awesome or effing insane? I think the quote was.
Yeah, it definitely was. I feel like I did have a little bit more pace to find out of the car, but I did pick up a track cut or two pretty early. So in that 2nd stint, I was trying to make up for it everywhere else outside of the zone where I was getting my track cuts, which did work a little bit, but I felt that I did drop my pace in that 2nd stint. So hoping in the next one I can keep those track cuts away and be very aggressive at the end.
It was a great performance, and it was good to see you have a dip, mate. Well done.
Cheers.
Race winner, Will Devenish. He made the right call on strategy, got ahead of Kurt Stenberg, and then Stenberg ran into some difficulties, allowing Will Devenish to take the win. Will, fantastic effort, mate. I was not a believer in the strategy. I think Nether was a believer in the strategy or whatever it was. We're going to be contrarian now. But, Will, very, very good job. Like I said, I wasn't a believer in the strategy, but you made it work.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually went into the race being on Kurt's strategy, hopping into the pits early. And then I saw him hop in early. I was like, can't hurt to just flip it around, and seemed to work. But I'll be honest, probably about 8 laps in, I didn't think I was going to be able to keep up, so I turned all my HUD off and just sort of sat back and tried to enjoy the race as much as possible. So yeah, happy with the result at the end of that.
Yeah, turning your hat off, I really rate the strategy. Actually, it's a very good strategy. But is it? Can you confirm that for the retro round, you've actually had, I believe, underneath your car, it's actually HRT 033. It's got the petty bar in it, and Jeff Gretsch is on the microphone for you, mate.
Yes, 100%. We brought him back for this round. Took a bit of convincing and a couple of 100,000, but he came back, and we're really happy with the result for that.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff is very, very happy. Jeff Gretsch, actually, he's the chairman or the president of the Benalla Auto Racing Club, and he's actually running the day-to-day operations of Winton Motor Raceway. So to be able to pry him away from there and raise his salary too, that's a very good job, and a very good job on the win tonight, Will. Well done.
Thank you.
So, Steve, very eventful race tonight, but it was good to see Will take the victory with a little bit of help from Tom Walkinshaw Racing or TWR Australia, and the help of one Jeffrey Gretsch from Avondale Heights in Melbourne, funnily enough. So Pete Savage had a bit of a dip, got ahead of Foley, and that's how the podium stayed. Very, very cracker of a race, and unfortunate to not see Kurt Stenberg up there.
No, definitely. A big disappointment to see Kurt Stenberg make a couple of untimely mistakes that ended up with a couple of drive-through penalties. What that has done, though, if you're interested in a championship update, is it is a 78-point swing back the other way. So the margin goes from 261 to 183 points. So that is crucial now in this battle. A huge swing, and with Stenberg starting this next race all the way down P11 and Devenish off the front row, there's a good haul of points potentially set to go back the other way as well. So this fight for honours in Supercars Championship for 2020 is certainly not over. Now, to give you a bit of an idea about the sort of prep that drivers actually do for Sandown, a number of them love racing at the track. And the man who won that race, Will Devenish, is one of those in particular. We've got a bit more of a unique perspective in our community hot lap segment this week. So let's have a look at how Will got on.
Welcome to round 14 of the Supercar Championship for AMS Oz. I'm Will Devenish, driving the number 15 car around Sandown. Sandown being in Noble Park, Springvale, Victoria. We'll try and get a lap in without getting shot. A little bit of a slide on the exit there, but coming onto the front straight, all the way up to 6th gear. Lining up turn 1, making sure we don't inkle it into turn 1 and lock up. Quickly back up to 4th and then down to 2nd, and hoping not to flip the car on these chicanes. Up to turn 4, get a nice run to the back straight. Sector 2 is just a straight line, but we want a nice exit to get the most speed down the back straight. We're already thinking about turn 6, getting our inside tyres over the curb, which we've done beautifully here, and making sure we're not locking up down to turn 9. Now back up to 4th gear. Turn 11, we're going to use the inside curb to pivot the car around, and turn 12, missing that inside curb. Nice exit there onto the front straight, and that is a full lap of Sandown.
Well, the last time I saw a camera like that, we had people in the ARW League complaining about foot fetish and someone wanting to see more of it. So hopefully we don't have any of that in this particular occasion, although Luke Rosella's gone close. We didn't get much of a chance to have a look at the track information before the night commenced, but it is a pair of 30-lap races tonight. 3.1 kilometres the length of this place they call the home of horsepower, Hans. It's been that way for a long time. Doesn't matter whether the horsepower is a Supercars kind, whether it's an improved production kind, a sports sedan kind in the local state racing series, horsepower wins at this circuit. But the one thing that a lot of people don't realise as well is that the draft on those two straights plays a very important role in how you tackle this track.
Yeah, and not a very aerodynamically dependent track. However, the benefit you can get from the hole being punched in the air by the car in front, it does actually have quite a sizable benefit. And if you get a decent run out of either turn 4 or turn 8, then you'll definitely be able... turn 8. What am I saying? Turn 12. I should say. Yeah, I don't even... I live only 30 minutes from the place and I've got no idea about it. And I've been there a million times, you know. But, yeah, it just shows that I need to perhaps get the brain-eating amoeba out of my head. But anyway, my point is, if you get a good run and you're there or thereabouts to get the draft, you're definitely going to get past.
Yeah, and we saw that on a couple of occasions in that first race as well, where a number of drivers were able to use the pass to good effect, get a nice slipstream up the back straight or a nice slipstream down into turn 1. The only trouble is that when your opponent realises you're getting the slipstream, they have the opportunity to go defensive, and it is quite difficult to execute the pass going the long way around on these circuits. You've got to be committed, and you've got to really commit early, or you've got to think about how you want to set the move up, feign going to the outside to try and get your opponent to defend the outside and then slip down the inside. There is a little bit of an art form to slipstreaming the pass at the ends of turns down at turn 1 and then on the run down to turn 6, which of course everybody knows in real life has had a lot of resurfacing works done in the last 12 or so months. I was fortunate enough at Sandown this year when we did the local state racing down there to go out there and do my introduction for the improved production at that particular turn, and it is as black can be. When you actually come over that rise in real life and have a look at turn 6, you cannot see where the racetrack goes. Your eyes have to take that extra little bit of time to pick up where the white lines are to make sure you get your turn in right, and it's very difficult to spot because the black tarmac goes all the way up to the outside wall, and of course that wall's been pushed back as well. So it is the challenge of the turn is gone in terms of you've got to keep it within the confines, but the bailout area for me is just a bit too easy sometimes.
Yeah, you're spot on. I thought that when they actually put it in, they should have a tarmac runoff area, and at the immediate edge of the track it should be grass or gravel, and then following that, where there's a point of no return where you become slow, that should be a tarmac runoff area.
Yeah, agreed.
But I'm not a circuit designer. I know nothing about this, so take from that what you will. But also, I think with all the black in the area of the tarmac, it's had the Exxon Valdez treatment.
Yes, I think you're probably right with that. The Exxon Valdez accident, of course, from many years ago. But yeah,
we shouldn't joke about it.
No, we shouldn't.
It's terrible.
We shouldn't joke about it.
What do we do now? We can literally do nothing about it. You know, I'm not an oil cleaner.
No, but what I would have thought that they would have done with that tarmac runoff area in the real life was that they would have painted it a different colour, so it was easy to delineate where the track surface was from the runoff area, similar to what they do at places like Circuit Paul Ricard in France in the Formula One, where it has a clear delineation as to what is the outskirts of the track and what is the actual racetrack itself. That, in my mind, would have been a bit better.
Maybe they should have painted a nice little message on it, dedicated to all the surrounding residents of Sandown who've been trying for the last 30 years to get it closed.
Yeah, that too. They could have done that. Of course, we all know that Sandown's got a limited lifespan ahead of it. The Casey precinct out at Pakenham is the one that seems to be getting a little bit of the attention at the moment, but I don't think they've turned even a sod of soil out there yet, have they?
Yeah, look, I've got no idea. I don't think they have actually. Yeah, you're right. It's just south of McGregor Road, and it's on McGregor Road actually. It's south of the Princes Highway, the Pakenham bypass. But also another thing interesting is, I mean, like whenever a new circuit opens anywhere, I'm just like, yay, closing radius corners, fantastic. Can't wait to destroy my front left tyre, beautiful.
Yeah, of course. I think seeing the circuit map for that particular circuit, you're absolutely spot on. Closing radius corners and plenty of left tyre destroyation.
Destroyation, that's a new one. I'll be, every time I see a new track map, I like of some of these circuits, I just get conniptions. I honestly lose it. Like, it just drives me insane. It just dead set drives me up the wall. And especially, we're not GT cars here. We're not Formula cars here. This is just so ridiculous. We've got locked differentials in our cars in Australian motorsport. It is not conducive towards closing radius corners.
No, definitely not. Something that they need to take a bit of interest in, I think, is the Australian conditions and the Australian way of doing things. But that's just the way that they seem to want to do everything nowadays. The FIA have had their say, and that's sort of what we've got to live with.
Not only that, they want to have these tracks which are architecturally very good pieces. They are very good architectural works of art, in a sense. However, the problem is a lot of the architecturally superior tracks, the tracks which are a supreme example of architecture and knowledge and capability, they just provide the worst racing because you cannot scientifically design a track. What was Sandown? Sandown was just a goat track around a horse racing track. That's how it started out, and that it's retained that character ever since, and that's why we love it.
Yeah, it still is.
It started out as a scenic drive. Someone just drew it on a map and said, yep, the road's going to go this way. Phillip Island, the final turn at Phillip Island was going to be the first turn because it's a closing radius corner, which follows the highway manual of the day in 1956 in Victoria. But the thing is, they reversed the direction of the track, and then it became one of the greatest circuits in the world. It's great.
It is indeed. And while she's just commented it perfectly in the live stream here, this is Hans' soapbox. He does get a little bit of airtime for this, doesn't he, guys? And he's taking away a little bit of airtime from a few other things that we do need to do. We're just waiting on the server to tick over. And I think Lewis Wedding's just waiting for him to get back in as well. But that gives us a little bit of an opportunity to bring up the upcoming events for Automobilista Australia over the next couple of weeks. Now, are there any more suggestions in the live chat before we go with what the circuit for the final round of Supercars is going to be?
Manfield.
You're going with Manfield. You're going with the circuit that the Super 2 guys finished on.
That's a good circuit, actually. I did quite like it.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty decent circuit. And, of course, the Super 2 guys were following the same calendar that the Supercars fraternity were doing, albeit a lot earlier in advance. And Manfield came up because, again, of the bend issues. But it's not Manfield. I can give that much to you. I did see this response come up earlier in the night, and we can actually reveal it now. No, Tim Redmond's at Manfield. John Wright's gone with Newcastle. Nope, we definitely not doing that. We, ladies and gentlemen, will be tackling the V8 layout of the Bahrain International Circuit for the final round of the Supercars Championship in 2020, and that is on December the 12th. So we've worked out the math. That's going to be a 53-lap race. It is a 200-kilometre race. Back in the day, if you were fans of Supercars, that, of course, was the Desert 400. It was a group of sprint races that day, or that weekend, rather, and it is now officially a 200-kilometre endurance race on the 12th of December. And then Super 2, guys, don't forget your series kicks off tomorrow night at the Adelaide Street Circuit, the summer series, that is. And we look forward to seeing you guys there, and then a couple of our fun nights are still yet to run as well. We are set for race start here and a formation lap to boot, with Lewis Wedding now back in the server. And 19 runners. We've got a couple of extra drivers back in for this one. And as it's a progressive grid, Hans, let's have a look at how this field lines up for the second 30-lap encounter tonight.
It is my pleasure, Steve. And Will Devenish is off the pole in this race after a stellar race win in race 1 tonight. Peter from second, he'll line up alongside his old sparring partner, Will Devenish, actually teammates in the AMSL's 500. I did forget about that for a little bit.
Correct.
Brenton Foley and Scott Nolan will share the second row of the grid. Lime Mitch and Steve Burker, also for sparring partners from way back. They share the third row of the grid. Lewis Vetterkind and Termo share the 4th row of the grid, as RSM Latino and Ozrob share the 5th row. RSM Latino and Ozrob actually quite evenly matched, so they might be joined at the hip for the rest of the race. Kurt Stenberg, a lowly 11th. We are not used to seeing him down there, but hopefully he can turn his fortunes around in this race. He's up against it, but I wouldn't put it past him to be able to do it. Matt Cecil lines up alongside him in 12th. Brody comes off the start line in 13th, with Nathan Higginson in 14th alongside him. Another HRT retro livery car, from 2003 to 2004. Cam Rutledge in the 05, as well as Steve Warwick in the Alan Grice retro livery. Craven Mild used to be the livery, and he's running Blackshaw's sponsorship on that car. Orjit Mishra, DNF in the first race, and hopefully he can put in a good performance and not come unstuck at turn 6 again. He did come off his first podium result in supercar competition at I think it was
last week. Yes,
Paradise.
last time out.
Yeah, I think it's Surface Paradise. Of course, it was Surface Paradise. I was there. Brendan Rossi makes his appearance in it's actually the teammate car, the Lewis Weddings car, but it's on a VF Commodore, and Avenger Ben jumps in for the final race of the evening. He starts from 19th.
Yeah, he missed the start from the last one, Avenger Ben. A couple of little issues, but he is back. Let's get set for a race start here. A couple of drivers look like they're out of position. Just on the side note here, Hans, looking at the worst results. I'll come back to you with a little statistic in just a minute. Let's go racing for race 2 tonight. Can Will Devenish replicate the start from race 1? The answer is no. Pete Savage gets the jump. Lion Mitch has had a blinder. Foley's had a blinder. They're going 4 wide into turn 1. They somehow come out the other side, 2 by 2. Lion Mitch has had a ripping start. Devenish demoted to 3rd.
This is dangerous. Oh, Nolan, he's managed to make the pass on Devenish, so Devenish has gone all the way back to 4th.
He certainly has.
Down to 5th. Steve Burko stays where he is.
Oh, and Will's had a bit of a slide, I think.
Everywhere.
Will's had a slide off of turn 4 as well. He might be vulnerable to Foley here as we go on board, and Foley's got a really good toe, but has he got enough track to do with it? No, he just gives him a bit of a bump. I just noticed that there was a thing on the ring that said, do not push or pull. Well, he gave him the push. Is that going to upset the car? Oh, he did a big leap over the turn 7 curb there as well, did Devenish, as they all get into Dandenong Road. I can hear collisions. There goes Termo, exit stage right at Dandenong Road. And is anybody else? Yeah, I was about to say. Yes, Higginson was the other party involved in that one, and he gives that spot back.
Brody's fallen off the road.
Yeah, Brody's gone all the way back down to the last. So as he had gone off in sympathy with a bit of a moment there, let's have a look at that one on the replay. And he dropped in behind a fast-starting Avenger Ben, and Mishra went to the back of the field. There's all the country. Oh, yeah, he dropped to the back of the field because he got into the back of Avenger Ben. So that's what's happened to Rhodey, and he's slowed down to give that position back.
Devenish and Nolan are having a big battle coming up to turn 4. Devenish actually got down the inside at turn 2. And then now Nolan returns the favour out of turn 4. Surprised to see that Nolan...
Oh, there's carnage at the back. Sorry, Hans, there's carnage at the back. I saw that there was a yellow flag that just come out in a heartbeat and then got withdrawn really quickly. Then I saw smoke, and Higginson was around. So there was another car involved in that as well. I think it might have been Termo. I'm not sure if it was contact. Oh, here we go. So there's a car off the road. That's Steve Warwick. Rejoins all pretty well. Gets back on it. Oh, it all happened ahead. Termo Rossi went round on his own. And who was the car that turned around? It was Ozrob. So did he get hit, or did he do that all himself? We're just going to rewind it back and have a look here and see if there was any sort of contact. No, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Devenish down the inside of Scott Nolan. He's locked the brake. Is he going to go wide? Oh, he goes wide. He's going to lose a spot to Nolan. He might lose a spot to Foley here. And he doesn't lose.
Oi!
This is a massive, massive battle pack right now. Lewis Wedding's at the tail of it. He's just let Kurt Stenberg through. Or did he let Kurt Stenberg through? I don't even know. I'm just going to check. No, Kurt Stenberg, he cleanly made the pass. And
he's got overlap here on Burko too, so he'll have Burko up the hill and into turn 6 quite comfortably, I think. Burko doesn't argue the point, just gives it up.
third through to eighth, you can separate them barely at the moment. Oh, Stenberg, he goes a little bit wide. He gathers it all up. That could have been a very hairy moment for him.
Experienced campaigner there.
It was a very hairy moment.
Experienced,
more scary.
Experienced campaigner knows what he's doing. Devenish having another sneaky look down the inside at turn 11. There was no way through there. He is throwing the kitchen sink at Scott Nolan right now as Pete Savage gallops off into the distance. Lime Mitch is starting to gap this pair as well.
Stenberg here, he might have a dip. He's having a big dip right now because he's absolutely carving through the field. He's up 5 spots already.
All right, Devenish having another look at the inside of Nolan. Cannot execute the pass that time around either. He's going to have a real hard think about where he tries to make this happen. Now, these two have got a little bit of a rivalry going on. We know the Stenberg and Devenish rivalry is alive and well, but there's a little one between Nolan and Devenish as well. I wouldn't say that, going short of saying they don't like each other, they are not on the happiest of terms, I think. Oh, this is dangerous.
I would go as far as they don't like each other. I would use stronger words, but let's not go there.
Well, you can use that.
Nolan has all the incentive in the world to keep Devenish behind him, and Will Devenish has all the incentive in the world to... Oh, Nolan! Oh, he just got it sideways, just skated in on the rears, but Devenish has all the incentive in the world to get past, so there could be fireworks here.
Yeah, there definitely could. And also, Stenberg having a dip at Foley. He got him done at turn number 9, but he's now confirmed the pass through the final chicane, but Foley's not going to give it up that easy. He's got a very nice little bit of a slipstream at the moment. You look at the rear wing cam. Closing, thinking about the outside, thinking about the inside now.
No, he's not quite close enough. He shows the nose. Or is he? No, not quite.
All right, Devenish has confirmed the pass. He's got it done at Nolan at turn 1 this time around. Job done.
Relief. I thought it was going to be a blow up in the steward's room in a second.
Well, he needed to do that, actually. He needed to get past Nolan as quickly as he could because he needs to gap him and get to Lime Mitch's rear bumper as quickly as he can. Now that he's got some clear air, he's got something to work with here because Stenberg has made quite a number of places on lap 1. You can see there by this graphic, he's made 7. Started 11th, currently P4, and every point for Will Devenish at the moment is crucial. Needs to finish ahead of Stenberg and keep bringing that points deficit down. Wants to make sure he takes it to the final round at Bahrain in a couple of weeks.
Oh, Stenberg, very, very leery on the curb there. And Avenger Bandy's in the pits. Probably not sure if the scheduled stop or not quite early for him. But Nolan and Devenish battling, it's actually worked into the hands of Stenberg here because he's been able to put some clean laps.
Wide.
This just went up as I saw the car just sort of pitch sideways in the braking zone at turn 1.
A lot of PBs being set out there at the moment too, Hans. Everything on that, just about 2/3 of the field in that last lap PB all got green next door to their name. Pete Savage, quickest lap of the race at a 107.9, half a second shy of what it was in race 1. And the one in race 1, of course, under the old lap record that you saw on the graphic earlier before this race. The lap records being in the 108s. They have now moved well into the 107s.
So Stenberg at the tail of this 4-car train. Lime Mitch, he's got the elbows up. Lime Mitch, he's trying to keep Devenish behind. Lime Mitch will be in action tomorrow night for the AMS Oz Super 2 Summer Series. Hopefully I can make it home in time to get in on one race at least.
Yeah, it's a dual round tomorrow night. Adelaide hosting a pair of 19-lap races. It does start a little bit earlier than usual, trying to make sure we cram everything in, but second race should be able to comfortably make. Oh, Devenish so much later under brakes and bowled it. And now it's caused a bottleneck because Nolan's going to have him down at turn 4 here and Devenish got to give him the space. And
see you later. See you later. Devenish hung out to dry. 2 spots lost.
Yep, that was very, very well timed as well by Kurt Stenberg because he realised what was happening there. The pick was on. Now Stenberg's going to go through on Nolan on the run up the hill, or is Scotty going to fight it? No. And Devenish now sends. Devenish, big send at turn 9, rubbing panels with Nolan. Comes out the other side with an advantage. What does that do for Foley? Can Foley go around the outside with Will? Oh, bit of close confines. You don't want to be stuck in a phone box with these guys right now. They are punching on for all it's worth.
stuck in a phone box with these two blokes. That'd be interesting.
No, they're just returning the favour here. Nolan's going to have another look here, but he has a dip at turn 1.
You can't do this. Like, this is just costing them time right now.
Now, the hard part.
Okay, let's just battle here, boys. Let's just battle here for 4th and 5th, so we can just watch the top 3 just run away. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's the big issue. That's the big issue at the moment, isn't it? Lime Mitch is now being very quickly caught by Kurt Stenberg. Devenish needs to get past Nolan. Pete Savage is disappearing up the road and got a comfortable advantage at the minute. There's no passing on the inside at 6, but Will's trying to set it up for 9 again. I think Scotty might cover the line here. Yeah, he stepped a little bit off the racing line and covered the move into turn number 9. So did the right thing there.
Number 9? Number 9?
Number 9. Where's Luke Rosella when you need him?
His favourite Beatles song.
I swear to God, that's going to be his race number on his car next year. It's not going to be number 5. It's going to be number 9.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Get into it. Get into it. Number 9 for Luke Rosella next year. Revolution 9 by the Beatles. Best song they've ever made.
Yep. Stenberg gets a pass done on Lime Mitch. And he's wide. And that'll allow Lime Mitch back through. And they're going to run side by side through here.
Bang!
Oh, boxed on a little bit there. Now, how quickly can Stenberg get out after Savage? He set the fastest lap of the race that last time around, Kurt Stenberg, 107.6. So continues to lower that margin.
Things might be a bit hot at the Stenberg household right now with the amount of heaters coming out from his car.
It's been a bit hot over in Perth in general, I think. Now, here's this battle pack again.
Considering that Peter also lives in Perth, there are a number of heaters coming out of Perth. 107.9 for Peter, so he's quite solidly in that bracket.
And it was a 108.5 for Stenberg last time around, so he lost some more time to Pete Savage. That margin blew out to 8.2 seconds, and it was all in that first sector where Stenberg...
That's what did him over.
Yeah, it was the first sector where Stenberg had to get past Lime Mitch through the chicane here that he lost all of that time. Oh, I think we might have a moment just off camera for, Higginson. I was looking to the other camera for a second, thought he got a little bit sideways. He's down in position 16. As much as you could throw a blanket over these guys at the front of the field here, go back and have a look down the order. So, Lewis Wedding, you can see here, sort of just trying his best to tack on to this battle if he can. Then you've got RSM Latino just heading a little train here. So Termo's being harassed by Brendan Ross. So that's a nice little battle. That's that sister car that we were talking about as the sister car in the Holder HSV dealer team to Lewis Wedding's car, albeit this one is correctly placed on a Holden. The one that Rick Kelly ran in 2008. Is the retro livery of choice for Brendan Ross.
Mitch and Nolan, they're going to have a battle, and Nolan's going to go down the inside at turn 1.
Back to the head of the field we go, and this is ugly now. If Will Devenish is smart here,
this is going to be chaos.
Now,
it's got chaos written all over it.
I was about to say, Will needed to follow Scotty Nolan through there, and now he's lost the opportunity. He won't be able to try right around the outside. He's getting...
No, he just got it back on the road, and it's balked Foley, and that brings Burko right into the battle again.
Yeah, it certainly does. Big 5-car battle. Not far off being a 6-car train, but no, Will didn't time that one well at all. Now, the hard part for Will Devenish here is it's probably a little bit on the early side for a pit stop. He'd probably like to get it closer to half distance as Stenberg's disappearing up the road. But he's got to think about, if he takes a stop, where he's going to fall into the traffic here, if he's going to fall into some clear air. Drivers that have already stopped, Avenger Ben is the only one, and he is a lap down. The man in 19th place, if I look on our live races timing, is about half a lap behind this battle at the moment. And Foley's decided to take the bait. Foley's in. Well, let's see how this works out. The 074 machine tours down the pit lane. Latino's been caught by Brendan Ross here, so I think Latino's had it wasn't a terrible last lap, a 109.7 for Latino. They're the sorts of lap times I believe he's been doing. Yeah, his best lap is not far off that either, but Rossi's had a stellar lap behind. I think actually Brendan Ross got a track violation on a previous lap as well. So that's one that we need to consider.
Just saw Pete Savage.
Oh no, Brenton Foley caught speeding on pit lane. So he did feed back into traffic. He's fed in ahead of Nathan Higginson and behind Cam Rutledge. So he did feed into clear air, but he's going to now come out of that battle. And that's not the first time we've seen him with a speeding penalty on pit lane. He got one at the previous round at the Gold Coast for when he fumbled with the pit lane speed limiter, ran into the back of Lewis Wedding, and he might very well have fumbled the pit lane speed limiter again.
I just noticed that Pete Savage on the last lap by through turn 6, he got very, very leery. The car was sliding all over the place. He managed to catch it, but he did lose probably about 2 to 3 tenths of a second to Stenberg that last lap round.
Yeah, he's lost about a second in the last 2 laps. It was 8.2 2 laps ago. It's now 7.2. So the margin coming down. He did have a little bit of traffic there with Orjit Mishra to negotiate. I'm wondering if... Looks like Orjit may have been in the lane because the last lap time for him was a 1:36.5.
Orjit gave way on the back straight, so that's all okay there.
Okay, no dramas with that one there. And Pete Savage continue on his merry way. Lock up Stenberg into turn 9. All okay for the moment. Back to this little battle, which Scott Nolan's managed to kick away from. Where's Will Devenish in this one? He's taken service as well, so he came in on the last lap. So we missed that with Will Devenish coming in from 13th place. And where is he? He's back out on track, so he didn't get a penalty speeding on pit lane, but Foley has come in from that battle. Stenberg fastest race lap, just lowers the benchmark by a couple of hundredths. And Will's got a huge amount of clean track here.
I'm surprised Will didn't take service earlier because it would have helped him to get out of that battle pack, but now that he's out, it's probably going to help him.
I guess maybe he's also looked at seen what Foley's done, Foley taking the bait, and realises he's now made a positional gain over Foley quite comfortably. And where Foley slotted in the traffic, he would have looked at the HUD, he would have worked out where Foley came back out and realised that's not a bad spot to be in, I'll have me some of that. As he comes across the line now, there's no other takers on pit road. Oh, actually Scott Nolan in and out, so Nolan reacting to Devenish coming in, and he will keep position ahead of Will Devenish for the moment, and will only have 1 lap newer tyres, so not much in that, but now everybody's going to start to react to everything that's going on around them, and keeping an eye on our race leaders to see what they are up to, and they are going for another lap. Looks like Avenger Ben
coming in.
All right, so he comes in from what was 3rd place on the road. And our race leaders continue to pound out the laps here. Stenberg taking a further half second out of Pete Savage in the last couple of laps. And just keeping an eye on, looks like Ozrob coming in. We've got Termo coming in. Lime Mitch is leaving the lane now. And looking to see where Lime Mitch feeds back into the. Steve Warwick's gone through yet to stop. So too Matt Cecil. And the other man we're looking out for is where Scotty Nolan is. And Scotty Nolan is going to round up Pete Savage. So there he goes. There goes Will Devenish. So the two of them have made positional gain on Lime Mitch. That's an undercut for the two Commodore drivers after their stops.
Did a double take for a moment. I thought you said he's rounding up Pete Savage. I'm like, huh? What?
Oh, sorry. If I did say that, I was meant to say Lime Mitch. I do apologise if I said that.
Yeah, when Pete and Lime Mitch, when they open their mouths, you can't tell the difference between them because they're just the same. It's like two opposite sides of the same coin.
Oh dear, Hans, you never cease to amaze me with some of your Hansisms, I guess we call it. We call Murray Walker's things Murrayisms. We've got the Hansisms in here at the moment.
Well, I was going to say another thing. Maybe Pete Savage can go one better in this race. It says that on his rear wing. Better electrical, go one better.
That's right. It certainly does.
Clearly, they spent too much. Well, funnily enough, back in the old days, when Better Electrical and Chandler's were part of the same company, they spent too much on sponsoring race teams. and they got the arse after a while, and they also went into liquidation. So there you go. Don't spend too much money on racing.
There goes your aforementioned race leader. There he goes. As RSM Latino comes out of the pits, and Stenberg in. So Stenberg have been making some good gains. Got the gap down to 6.7 seconds.
Now Pete needs to pit this lap.
He certainly does need to pit this lap. Man pitting this lap is going to be Steve Warwick, by the virtue of the cog in the spanner inside it on the left-hand side there. Also expecting a couple of other drivers to go into the pits. Looks like Lewis Wedding has gone through. Brennan Ross, having started rear of grid, has gone through. And here's Stenberg traversing down the lane. Where is Steve Warwick? He's coming into the lane. Matt Cecil yet to stop. Yellow flag in that sector. That would have just been for the car coming through the pit lane. And Stenberg comfortably out ahead of Scotty Nolan and Will Devenish.
I wonder what Peter is going to do here. Is he going to keep going? Or is he going to pull it into the pit lane? He's going to go in the pit lane.
He's in the pit lane. Get it stopped before the line. No pit lane speeding. There he goes. And
do you think Savage, he doesn't have a functioning brake pedal. He actually uses his clutch pedal as his brake. I mean, this is unbelievable. Give the kid some load cell pedals and a direct drive wheel, and this kid, he is dynamite.
yeah, he's been doing that for quite a while, from what I understand as well. And Lewis Wedding, teammate in Lou Sim Sports Stable, going long yet again, goes through to take the race lead.
Oh, it's an HSV dealer team 1-2, it may be.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, now it's an HSV dealer team 1-2. Look at that.
Yeah.
Lewis Wedding and Brennan Ross.
If you're counting liveries, you are. Here's Pete Savage exiting pit lane. Stenberg's rounding the final corner now. And this margin is about the same as what it was, I think, when they came in for their stops. Maybe it's decreased just a little bit.
Oh, Brody's around. Brody's around at just between turns 3 and 4.
All right, so he's had a bit of a moment, and he's lost a bonnet as well, has he? Yes, he has. So, of course, the Rhodium. Oh, did he get tagged? Or did he do it himself? No, did it himself. Ulrich Mischer was behind for a minute. I thought hopefully he hadn't run into it, but he's lit up the rear tyres, and he's facing the wrong direction. How did he extricate himself? How did he extricate himself from this mess?
Scafie is definitely not going to be proud of that.
No, Scafie's not going to be proud of that at all. He's waiting for the gap, and bags it up, gets it going. Job well done. Pluck a gear, off you go.
Well, he lives to fight another day. Young Rhodium himself.
Rhodium, or the Ropedo, as he's been affectionately nicknamed in the last couple of weeks.
So Lewis Wedding is going out again for another lap, but Brendan Ross is in, so he peels off from second place on the road.
Now that gap, you can see it on your screen there with Kurt Stenberg starting on his last lap, getting the fastest lap of the race. That gap is now just over 5 seconds, so Stenberg has made some really good gains in the last lap or two, and he was making some really good gains on Pete Savage in the lead up to the stops once he cleared the traffic. So a front-running driver's drive at the moment, having started. Rhodey getting a drive-through penalty. Looks like I think he may have just been on... was he just on pit road, Hans, or has he got that for a track violation?
On pit road, yes, he was.
So pit lane speeding for the Rhodium. And he will do another pass-through at pit lane speed. Stenberg is really throwing this car around now that he's got the new rubber on board, Hans. He's making some... He's using it to good effect, though. He's making some real gains. Sector 1, 2.5 tenths of a second quicker. Sector 2, a tenth of a second quicker. So 3 tenths on this lap alone. And a new fastest race lap to boot. But there was no purple sectors. There was a purple sector in the last sector, on that one. And he was 2 tenths quicker in the last sector. So that's a 5 tenths of a second gain over the lap, and only purple in the last.
Yeah, it just shows that you can put a good lap together without being purple in every sector. And sometimes you do have to rob Peter to pay Paul in some sections here. I think mainly at the end of the first sector, if you get a particularly... Well, if you just dive in, take an early apex, you will get a good sector time, but you will lose all that time by the time you get to the second sector point just before turn 6.
Yeah, and the one part of the Rob Peter to pay Paul equation that you were alluding to is down here at the next chicane that Stenberg's about to encounter, where you need to take as much of that inside curb on the right as you can and then keep the car to the right, so essentially robbing this corner a little bit and staying as far right, which Stenberg's done there pretty well, because then it opens up the next corner for you.
Yeah, sacrifice turn 11 to make turn 12. Open up the radius of the corner a bit more and get a better run. Get on the throttle earlier.
Look at the lap time the last time around, 107.450 to his best of a 107.426, so almost a mirror image of the previous lap. And another purple sector in the final sector, lost it over a couple of other laps, but there was only a 0.3 of a second gain that time around, and now with Rhodey having just toured the lane, there's a little bit of a hold up.
Shows that he's having a big dip into the final sector. I think he's making all that time up. He'll be making all that time up into Dandenong Road. He's having a massive dip there.
He is. Now, one thing that we have missed off of camera while all this is going on is Will Devenish has found his way past Scott Nolan. Now, I'm just trying to work out what lap that was on. It must have been in the last... It wasn't the last lap just gone. It was probably the lap before, I'd imagine, because Will's managed to clear away quite quickly here. So, at the moment, being the distance behind Stenberg that he is, won't threaten the podium, but he doesn't stand to lose as many points as he otherwise would have, having been a couple of positions a bit further arrears, you know, sort of back toward Lymitch. And Lymitch is caught up to the back of Nolan as well, and Steve Burko's not far out of that fight for 5th, 6th and 7th as well. So there might be a couple of late changes of position there.
Oh, is that Cam Rutledge off? He's off, yeah, I just saw him. And Steve Warwick's off as well, so there's chaos unfolding right now at turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, there they are. So Steve Warwick and Cam Rutledge at turns 2 and 3. Now, was Cam in front of him or behind him? Now we'll look at the Steve Warwick one here. And
Matt Cecil's coming in the back of Steve Warwick.
Oh, and no, I know what's happened there. Steve Warwick had lost the back end and he was a little bit loose. And there's Cam Rutledge just in the background. You could see him just pick up, Cam just bowled one of the signs over and then skated through.
The chaos unfolding.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, Hans, I wanted to talk about when we were on the grid as Lewis Wedding finally makes his stop and it cleanses the field. Actually, that means it does put Will Devenish on the podium. Kurt Stenberg. He had an 11th place finished in that last race, which I was thinking in the back of my mind, that's got to be his worst result of the season. Believe it or not, it is, but it's the third time he's been 11th. He was 11th at the first race at Surfers Paradise because of the post-race penalties that were applied afterwards. And then the other one was a second race of Calder Park. So all that time ago. So hard to imagine that your worst result you've repeated that many times. And for a man that's hardly been off the podium all season long, that it comes at the time that it did.
It could be worse. It could be worse. As Jeremy Clarkson would say.
Yes, it could be worse. And then the other one, I guess, is, what could possibly go wrong?
Why wear a hat? Ooh, I
Yes.
just saw a splitter off in the background.
I think I'm not sure if that's from Nathan Higginson because he just got done for for a drive-through. And, yeah, he's doing a drive-through now. So I'd imagine he's had a moment and either lost the splitter or he's made contact with somebody who's lost the splitter. Let's have a look and get a front-on shot of this car as it comes out of the pit lane. New fastest lap for Stenberg, 107.2. No, it's not Higginson's split up. It'll be from another car.
Could be Avenger Ben's splitter or bonnet or something because it's still on the track.
Yeah, he's been gone since lap 11.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether it might be a roadie bonnet or something else as well because roadie's obviously still out there at the moment. Gap at 3 seconds with what's going to be 6.5 laps to run. Stenberg starting to apply the blowtorch again. Quick math says that the last lap for him was a half second quicker than Pete Savage. And here he comes. And Will Devenish is now, as we said, on the podium after Lewis Wedding taking his stop. And Wedding is fed back out into P7 for Loose Sim Sport. Now just need to do a little bit of the math here, having a look at the points allocation at the moment. So at the moment, as it stands, Will Devenish would only lose 9 points to Kurt Stenberg if they finish where they are at the moment. So third place finish nets you 128 points in a sprint race, and second place 138 with 150 to the race winner, which at the moment looks like it's going to Pete Savage. And if it does go to Pete Savage, it would be his first win of the season, and it'd be nice to add another name to the winners list in 2020 for Supercars. But he's got a hell of a task to do at the minute. He's just had to negotiate Matt Cecil. And what's the traffic down the road ahead of him? It's Rob, who's running along in 13th place.
Rob, otherwise known as Australian Robert.
Yes. Or Rob Crisdale for those in the know.
He likes the number 555, I think. So maybe his favourite is 555 State Express. But who knows?
Not 100% sure on that one. I knew he ran 555 when he ran the GT3 World Series in the Lamborghini with the Gravel Shed Racing team. It was a combination of the Gravel Rash Racing for Steve Bolger and the JP Sim Shed Racing. That was himself, Steve Bolger and Matt Schwass in that 3-car team.
JP Courier's still around. Like, what's he doing these days? Like, I don't know what he's up to.
I think he's doing mostly some broadcasting, from what I've understood, and sort of managing the iRacing race team. He ran a number of rounds last year in what was AMS Super 2 in 2019. Had 3 race wins in a row at one point, was doing really well, and sort of dropped off the radar. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I've been keeping an eye on things, and I think SimShed Broadcasting is the banner in which he broadcasts a bunch of things under for iRacing. And of course, he's got a couple of teams that he runs in, I think, Supercars and GT3. I think Rob still actually drives for the JP SimShed stable as well, over there on the iRacing platform.
You know if they're recruiting?
I'm not 100% sure, actually. Why, are you thinking of having a dip?
Yeah, why not? Let's have a dip. If someone can pay my iRacing subscription, I'm happy to have a dip.
All right, challenge accepted. Guys and girls, if you're out there in a live chat, you want to fund Hans Brunswick in an iRacing drive, please get in touch. Now, this margin
There's other things you can fund as well, but let's not talk about that.
No, let's not talk about that yet. Now, this margin is under 2 seconds. It is now comfortably under 2 seconds at 1.8 with 4 laps to run. And Peter Savage is getting ever closer to...
Nervous time.
There's been
nervous times for young Savage.
It certainly will. Now, I'm wondering whether or not any of these guys have got any track cuts left up their sleeve, Hans. I know we don't encourage the use of it. We don't encourage the guys to get out there and, abuse them once they get into the bottom end of it.
This isn't real life, Steve, where everyone cuts the track at Adelaide and, they do it strategically.
Yep. And Savage now has the lights on to warn Ozrob he's coming, and that's very well done. And Ozrob just lets him go through without losing too much speed, falls in behind, margin out 1.7. This is the real battle that we want to keep focus on between now and the checkered flag, because it is one of the closest of all the battles that are out there, the one of most interest. Devenish not gaining any time on this lead duo. His last lap around was in the 8s. It was an 8-2. So I think he's resigned to third place on the rostrum this time around. Another drive-through penalty for Nathan Higginson. He's out there on the track, so that'll be for track violations. And if I look on the map, he is somewhere. He would have got that down at the turn 2, 3, 4 complex by the looks of things. We go on board with current championship leader, Kurt Stenberg, as he tries to hunt down this FGX Falcon. Talk us through a lap here, Hans.
Coming on the main straight now at Sandown, one of the 2 long straights here. You get up to 6th gear and roughly about 260 kilometres an hour. Does he make it? Makes it a little bit past 260, so he's got a bit of mumbo on board. Then down to 3rd gear into this 90-degree left-hander. Then big use of the curbs here for turn 2 and 3. Tight, twisty section. Track sacrifice, try and get a good run out of here. Late apex and get a good, strong run onto the back straight. Turn 5, inconsequential corner, I should say. Coming up to the Outworld Broadcasting gantry, and just coming over the rise, then you push the brake pedal very, very hard and try and float the car through here. Then hard on the brakes once again. Try not to lock the brakes. Get a bit of curb on the inside, take the curb on the outside, just breathing on the throttle, and take as much curb as you can here at turn 11 to make the apex open up at turn 12. And then turn 13, very bumpy coming out of here in real life as well. And that is a lap of Sandown, 70 seconds nearly of absolute action.
Job well done as always. Last lap has commenced. Margin down to 1.1. Stenberg took another 0.4 of a second out that time. Having a dip. Pete Savage, as you said, Hans, nervous times for him right now. He's got the headlights on. He hasn't turned them off since he got past Ozrob.
I think he's forgotten in all his haste to turn them off, but we'll forgive him. He's only a second ahead of Stenberg, and we all know how much of a quality driver Stenberg is, and Pete has definitely been shaping up to measure himself up to Kurt Stenberg. Very experienced driver.
Another penalty.
And the GT3 champion has 2 more corners to go to his inaugural win in the AMSL Supercars.
Yeah, GT3 Sprint Series champion, and he's going to add a win in Supercars to his resume for 2020, and it's a West Australian 1-2. Pete Savage and Kurt Stenberg, positions 1 and 2. The margin, 0.9 of a second at the end of that one, and Pete Savage is going to be mighty pleased with himself after that. Will Devenish a distant third, but nonetheless it's a third, and he does outscore Kurt Stenberg overall for the night, so he'll be pleased with that. He'll lose 9 points. It was a 78-point swing coming into this race, so he'll give 9 points of those back. So it will be 69 points at the end of the night. Glenn Miles' favourite number, I believe. And a pair of fourths for Scotty Nolan, so his night's work is complete. He takes over the fourth moniker from formerly fourth Mitch, which is now, I guess we can say fifth Mitch, because that's what he is. He's in position 5 after all that's been done and dusted. A sixth for Burko in the first of the Loose Sim Sport Falcons that got home. Ahead of team principal Lewis Wedding. Brendan Ross, what a drive from him. Rear of the grid to position 8. 10 spots gained. Very, very pleasing performance by his standards. And then a last man in the top 10, Brenton Foley, who had that drive-through penalty, which really took any chance of a decent finish away that he had. And RSM Latino in the top 10, ahead of the more experienced Termo. Look at that margin, just under 0.6 of a second at the end between positions 10 and 11, with Ujit Mishra in 12th, the last man home on the lead lap.
Very good performance for the Loose Sim Sport team tonight, but I think what would have impressed Lewis even more is if the whole field turned up in Martini tribute liveries and Gulf Oil tribute liveries. I think he would have absolutely loved it.
Oh, I think Lewis would have creamed his pants if that happened.
I think he would have absolutely tried to, he would try to find some busted engine bits to bash us over the head with.
Oh, he probably will after this is over,
So, I'm just looking at that bonnet. It says Harvey Norman on that bonnet, so that is
That's the Avenger Ben. Yeah, correct. He did have the team Harvey Norman sponsorship for tonight, new livery, and he has that'll be his bonnet for sure. Well, now we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. I guess we got through that one unscathed, Hans, and there weren't too many dramas that we had to concern ourselves with tonight, so that's a good thing. And maybe only 1 or 2 small little issues. I'm assuming a few drivers will possibly report when this one is all over and done with. But on the whole, a big change in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, really good to see that everyone hasn't left their brains in the toolbox before they jumped into the race. So that is very, very good to see. And also, the championship battle is hotting up with only 2 rounds to go.
Well, it's 2 rounds. It was 2 rounds at the start of the night. It's just 1 to go now. 1 more race lies ahead.
I thought it was 2 rounds after this round, but never mind. It is 1 round to go.
1 round to go.
We get to go to a fabulous circuit at I think it was at the V8 circuit at Bahrain, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. It's known as the Paddock Hill, or the Paddock Circuit. Sorry, not Paddock Hill. Paddock Circuit layout in Bahrain. In the real life, it's 3.7 k's long, but the iteration of the game we use says it's 3.8, so we need to account for that. So therefore, instead of being 54 laps, it's 53. And I think we're just waiting for our race winner to come up and pay us a visit. But we've got the other guys in the top 3 here at the moment, Hans. And, well, so the second last time in 2020, the honour is yours.
So, Will Devenish, winner of the last race, but only third tonight. Will, very wild and willing battle with your old sparring partner, Scotty Nolan. And, I think it's nice that, you would have thought that it's nice to be able to get one up. There was all the incentive for you to get past him and all the incentive for him to keep you behind. But all in all, a solid night and championship battles heating up, Will.
Yeah, happy for the win. Unfortunately, that second race we just didn't get off the line properly, and that sort of put us behind some drivers that we were significantly faster at, but not in the right areas, I guess. So yeah, it is what it is. We got back onto the podium, so pretty happy with that.
And I believe, if Nether has given me the right calculations, the championship battle narrows to 69 points. Glenn Miles' favourite number, as he remarked earlier, and I hope Glenn is watching because he'll love it.
Correction on that one, Hans. A 69-point swing, so Will gained 69 points over Kurt tonight.
Gained 69 points.
Yep.
So basically, I'm wrong. As always, I'm a loser. I'm a has-been. But who knows? But I think Luke Rosella has everything to say about that. But Will, a very, very good job, and it's not over yet.
Thank you.
Second place tonight went to Kurt Stenberg after starting 11th, and he did play the strategy right, and he muscled his way through the field. And Kurt, very hard way to do it, but you managed to get there in the end.
Yeah, mate. That's what we had to do. We had to come back from somewhere, so we knew we had car speed. We just needed to make spots early, and unfortunately, my clutch is still not working properly, so I didn't get the best of starts, but just made sure we muscled through on the opening laps and got the spots, and then shot after Pete, but we didn't have enough time.
Yeah, Denny, does that mean that you're a bit like your idol Mark Scaife in that you couldn't get a good start?
Yeah, it was. I mean, my clutch just flickers on the start, so I guess it's like 06 Bathurst. Like, the clutch just doesn't do very much. So it's either on or off. With Scaife, he had it and it was just on. So yeah, it's a bit like my problem. So but yeah, car speed was awesome tonight. Somehow we found something where we're quite fast in the straight line as well. So where we've been lacking against Will and others. So yeah, I was happy with how that race went from where we started, but overall not a great night, to be honest.
Well, I think it was a great night because we got to see you have a massive dip from buried in the field. So well done.
Thanks, mate.
And I can't believe it took us this long to say this, Nether, but Pete Savage, you are now a winner in AMSL Supercars. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have words. I've been smiling since I won the race. If someone was going to tell me that I would win a round and win a race on the same night and not have penalties be the reason for me to win it, I'd tell them to go shove it. I don't know what I found in that second race, but yeah, I think I probably did about 6 or 7 laps while Stenny was chasing me down that second stint of the race. That were pretty much the exact same time I did in quali, which I thought was already unreachable. So yeah, just managed to find something in that race and managed to just hold on for a win. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, it was a very, very well raced race. I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't know. I've just come back from work. This is how it is now. But Pete, very, very good drive. But now this sort of dispels all the myths around you being a one-hit wonder in the GT3 Sprint Series, doesn't it?
No, I think that would have to come down to the next GT3 Series. I honestly just found that they suit my driving style perfectly, while the V8s, I've had to adjust quite a lot. And yeah, looking back over the year, I mean, in the first race of the season, Stenny lapped me within the first half of the race. Didn't really have the best of starts, and coming home strong now. Really looking forward to next year.
And Pete, when are you going to get a proper brake pedal, mate?
I would not know, to be honest.
Anyway, forget about funding my iRacing career. Let's fund Pete Savage's new sim rig. We're going to get him the hotted up sim rig, and dead set, this kid is going to go far in life, Pete Savage. He is going to go far in sim racing, that's for sure.
He certainly is, and he's definitely proving that he can drive any car that he jumps into and produce the good results. And as we said earlier in the night, not only is he now a new race winner in AMSL Supercars, it's 4 podiums in the last 5 races for Pete Savage. So he's come on strong, and it's done wonders for him as well now, because it leapfrogs him up to 5th place overall in the point standings. It's taken him ahead of Termo, and it's taken him ahead of team principal at Loose Sim Sport Lewis Wedding. So there's not going to be some very nice words, I think, exchanged in that, because Lewis himself is only 24 points ahead of Termo, and Pete Savage not too far up the road. So plenty of points to play for at the final round, 300 in fact. The margin at the conclusion of tonight's proceedings between the championship contenders, 192 points. So it's not the 260 odd that it was at the start of the night, but it's not on the wrong side of the ledger either. It does mean that the championship fight does go down to the final race at Bahrain, the Bahrain International Circuit, as we said, the paddock layout in approximately 2 weeks' time. So you can see it there. It says on my calendar 12th of December. I believe that's actually meant to be the 10th of December. I do apologise, guys. There must have been a little bit of a typo there with getting it up and running. It is the 10th of December, as the 12th of December is a Saturday. So that is only 2 weeks away. Super 2, guys, don't forget your season start is tomorrow night. And for those of you that watch the stream but haven't had a chance to participate in any of the AMS Oz events yet, there are a couple of those fun nights that we're yet to run. So the R Factor 2 second fun night was actually, I think it's next Monday, sorry, not the 24th of November. Geez, I've done the same thing Hans has done here, mucked up a couple of different things. And the ACC fun run night in the 2nd and the 4th of December. So still a few things to go in AMS Oz as we wind down for the year. And that is where we will leave it for tonight. As always, guys, please drive safely. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the finale of AMS Oz Supercars. Bye for now.